Mic's on?
Yep.
Go, Greg.
Good morning and welcome to our coverage of National Signing Day. The new batch of Cornhuskers inking their name to a national letter of intent today. We're going to be with you for the next couple of hours as these letters trickle in throughout the morning as Scott Frost and his staff put together the class for 2022. Greg Sharp, Jessica Cootie, Jeremiah Searles. We will steer you through the next several hours. And Jessica, as we mentioned last night on Sports Nightly, this is a big life-changing moment for these young men. This is a chance to go maybe make their first major decision of their life.
Yeah, and I mean, such a buzz right now around Nebraska football and some late commits that we're seeing roll in too that committed this week, last night, yesterday, and signing officially today. So exciting times and filling, I think, some needs, with the secondary, especially with all those guys graduating in the secondary, all those defensive backs, the 6-year guys, Cam Taylor-Britt at corner, needed some guys that they could call on, build some depth and some competition in that defensive backs room.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that they really looked at the needs of this football team and attacked those needs in recruiting. And I mean, as long as it took for us to get coaches, you kind of knew it was going to take a little bit to get everything put together for the signing day. But I think the staff did a really nice job putting together a really quality class in kind of a short amount of time for some of these guys. And so really excited being able to watch some of these young players on Huddle and see what they're going to be able to bring to the team in 2022.
Remember your signing day? What was that day like?
Man, seems like forever ago. Well, first of all, it was forever ago. But I think I remember getting calls from Sean Callahan. I remember getting calls from Brian Christopherson and waking up super early to fax my letter in, right? I mean, I faxed my letter in to Coach Cotton and Coach Pelini and get the call from them about how excited they are and ready for us to come and compete in the class. I mean, I can remember getting connected with my classmates. That was something that's cool, like Nick Ash, Jess Coffey, Brent Qualley. I mean, getting connected with those guys right away. Chris Williams was a big one too. He's a linebacker, and just starting to build that brotherhood and build that whole conglomerate that's going to be your class. And that it's just been really fun. And I'm excited for these guys.
Some of those guys are still good friends of yours today, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Long, Brent Qualley, we all banged around in the league for the same amount of time. We came through here. Nick Ash and I he's my roommate the whole time. I mean, that's the thing. These kids they're building relationships for life, and they're going to come from all different walks of life and come in here with one common goal, which is to bring Nebraska a championship and back to where it needs to be football-wise, and they're going to be the building blocks for a lot of this.
You know what else is cool, too, is that now in the days of social media, you're seeing these guys kind of recruit each other. So, Ernest Hausman was the first one to commit, back in the spring, and then he's very, very vocal all over social media, welcome home, welcome to the good life, all that. And so, the fact that then they kind of get to know each other. Again, talked to a few of the recruits that we're going to show you some of those interviews when they were here on official visits against Iowa. They have a big text chain that they're all texting each other, kind of getting to know each other, already really close and really hungry to get here. So I think it's cool, too, that in addition to, all that you just talked about in this day and age, they're all kind of helping get each other here, too.
I think that's really important in today's age of college football, too, because of the transfer portal. I think a lot of times that if you're going to transfer, there's so many factors that go into it that might not just be on-field stuff. It might be off. I mean, when you got a group of guys that are friends, right, and your buddies, and you don't want to leave your buddy because, I think that plays a factor. So I think that's a great piece that they're starting to do, and I think it's going to be a really pivotal point of recruiting and what the college football looks like in the future.
Coaches will always say the best recruiters are the players, because they're the ones that ultimately get the sell job done in the end. This is our National Signing Day coverage brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto family. Brought to you by Woodhouse. Woodhouse first, 18 brands, 16 convenient locations, simplified car buying to save you time. Shop, finance, and buy online at woodhouse.com. All right, the letters started to trickle in about 6 a.m., so a couple of hours ago. Let's start with our first one, Victor Jones, who committed no fooling on April the 1st is when he committed. Wide receiver out of Orlando, Florida, 6'2", 190, so a little bit taller. He's going to be the lone signee out of this class from the state of Florida, and he is one of the top players in that Orlando area, 53 catches. Jeremiah, let's check out the tape on this young man.
I love this guy. The big thing for him is his yak yards are really good. They use him a lot with the bubble screens. They use him a lot of getting the ball in his hands and allowing him to really kind of make things go. And we need that in this offense, right? I think we've missed a big guy like this guy since, you talk about a Stanley Morgan type body. And you look at this kid, and for one thing, he's got really good, for a young wide receiver, you can see he's got a really good release off the ball. He's really good on the slant routes. But the other thing is he's very physical. As you can see on these runs, he's making guys miss. He's not shying away from contact, and he really does just enjoy getting after people. Again, here's a little bit more of that bubble screen. He gets back here, breaks 1 or 2 tackles, and he's off to the races. So big-time body, big-time get for that receiver room.
Big-time body, but he's big-time fast, by the way. He's a track star, has clocked at 4.440. He runs a 4.440. Has, in the 100-meter dash, twice ran under 11, so 10.86 on the 100-meter dash. He's going, well, read an article, in the Orlando Sentinel, I think, that he was trying to break his high school record of 10.61 in the 100-meter dash. So he's a big guy, but can run very well for his size.
And looking at him, too, you can see he looks like he could put on another 10, 15 pounds. I mean, you get here with Duval and them, and you turn the guy that's already clocking in at about 190 pounds, and you say, hey, go be 205, go be 210, and really turn into that big-time Big Ten receiver that you see week in and week out. And, man, talk about a guy besides Mickey Joseph to do that better and developing. And I'm excited. I'm sure that's a big reason why he's really pumped to come here as well.
You know what else is cool about his story is that, he's in the Orlando, Florida area where, and Scott Frost and this coaching staff have been familiar with him since he was in middle school, and they've kind of kept up with him. So he started rolling in the offers, 17 offers, and, knew that this was kind of the place for him because they stuck with him this whole time and kind of kept in contact with him. But, this is a guy that this coaching staff, Scott Frost, has had a relationship for a long time.
Yeah, and that's so big in recruiting when you talk about just the relationship building piece. I mean, so often you hear guys that are just getting offers thrown at them from schools but don't really get the relationship built with the coaches. So props to Coach Frost and his staff for seeing a young talent and staying with him. And, I mean, it's going to pay dividends for him in the end.
Jessica mentioned the offers. He was really considering Arkansas, Cincinnati, and Kentucky, kind of his final batch, but then Nebraska was the ultimate choice. The second letter that came in, and this is right now, and this could change over the next week or so, the highest-rated young man in this class, and it's Jaden Gould, the corner from Bergen Catholic, which is a powerhouse high school in New Jersey. Big get for Nebraska, and this one came this week. Jeremiah, tell us about Jaden Gould.
The number one thing I think about when I watch this guy play is he likes to tackle, and that's for me as a corner or as a DB. I mean, you can see it here, the physicality that he brings, the mentality that he brings. So often you hear about corners is, man, they can cover, but can they tackle? I mean, this dude absolutely loves to tackle. He's got really good hips. He gets out of his back pedal well, plants, identifies, and really attacks the line of scrimmage or the receiver here. But he also, a lot of his interceptions, watching his huddle tape, come from tips and overthrows, but that's because of his hustle. He gets to the ball. He's around the football a lot, and he's able to do that. And he's going to be a big guy that I think out of the DBs, he might be a guy that we could see next year on some stuff, maybe not just redshirting, but also on the field and contributing. I think he might be the most ready-to-play guy in this class.
Played corner, safety, nickel, all over the secondary in high school. How big is that versatility coming in?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he can play safety and corner is huge. That means he's able to do a lot of things. And when you're talking about losing both your safeties, there's going to be a lot of people trying out for that safety position. And I guarantee you one of the reasons that we are one of the schools that he picked is because he sees the opportunity to play early here. That's important to a lot of guys. And when you think that you're ready to take that next step, which physically he's ready, mentally he'll find out when he gets here. College football is a little different. And if he can pick up the mental game, his physical game is very close to being ready to contribute on Saturdays.
Had a great relationship with his coaching staff since the summer going into his sophomore year. Of course, committed to USC, opened it back up, his recruitment back up, and just kind of had that connection. Again, those relationships you talk about from the start that he was building. He came here on an official visit. Guess who hosted him? His high school teammate, Ramir Johnson, that, he felt comfortable and really felt at home here staying with his high school teammate.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, too, is he saw the success of what guys like Cam Taylor-Britt and Deontay Williams had in this Chenander scheme defense, right? I mean, we may not have the wins that we wanted last year, but this defense got the notoriety that it deserved, and defensive players are seeing that.
Jaden was the New Jersey High School Player of the Year picked by Max Prep, so this is a highly decorated young guy. Jessica mentioned that he was a USC commit. Kind of came down to Nebraska and Penn State for him. So to win a battle over a conference foe, pretty been a lot of kudos to the Nebraska staff to get Jaden Gould into the fold. All right, the next letter that came in is from an in-state player. It's Gage Stenger, who is from Millard South, had a tremendous senior year. Gage is listed as an athlete. I'm not sure quite Nebraska knows what to do with him, but he could end up being a JoJo Domann type player.
You know, the biggest thing for me is when I watch him is he's really good with the ball in his hands, not just on the defensive side of the ball. He makes a lot of rangy plays, but he's just a really natural athlete. There's a lot of things he can do. He's going to be one of the shiny new toys of this class that I think there's going to be multiple coaches fighting over. Hey, we want him in our room. We want him in our room. But again, I think defensively is where he's going to be able to fit. Physical guy, fast guy, but also he plays with a lot of swagger. He plays with a lot of confidence. And so being able to see him plant and change direction the way he can with the ball, it really translates over to the way he attacks the line of scrimmage and his tackling. So again, really shiny new toy, but also in-state kid. Really important to keep those in-state kids here in the Big Red.
I'm surprised. I guess we picked showing defensive highlights. How about his quarterback highlights? Over 13, nearly 1,400 passing yards, 19 yards per completion, 17 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with he's a really smart kid. You see what he deciphers when he throws the football. He doesn't force anything. He's looking to run first because that is his natural ability, and you really see it coming out in these highlights here. But the ability to play safety, nickel, and that hybrid linebacker safety player is becoming more and more prevalent in today's college football and in the NFL. Everyone's looking for the JoJo Domann. I mean, there's a reason JoJo was a second-team All-American, right? And everyone is looking for that spot, that Nate Gary-ish kind of guy. And so I think that this could be what the Huskers view him. This could be what he could fall into, and exciting to have him on board.
He played for the Patriots were undefeated in the regular season. They got upset in the round one of the playoffs, but they had a tremendous regular season. He was a huge part of it. Came down to Nebraska and K-State, so you're right. Keep that kid at home. And you take good athletes, you'll figure out when you get them here where they might plug in the best. And we've done that with a couple of players. You had a chance, Jessica, to catch up with Gage. He was at a recent home game, one of the last home games of the year. You had a chance to sit down and talk with him. Yeah,
you mentioned the swagger. You could just tell he carries himself with a lot of confidence. Now, he's a guy that will not be here early in January. He is going to finish out his senior year, but he's excited to be a Husker, that in-state kid staying home.
I mean, one thing, too, the more we're putting this class together is these are big kids. Like 6'2", 6'3". I mean, we're not seeing – there's a few in here, but you can tell there's a certain body type that this staff is looking for, and it's that 6 foot to 6'5" type player that they think they can put some weight on and carry that frame, and that's good to see. I mean, we do need to get a little bit bigger in some of these positions, too.
You going to let us go to the interview? You could just
I'm sorry. I'm really excited.
You going to let us hear from some of the recruits today?
Sorry, I'm excited. Yes, go for it.
All right.
Roll with it.
Let's roll that interview, and hopefully Jeremiah won't interrupt this time. All right, well, another Nebraska kid is signing on to come play for the Huskers. Kind of take us through your recruiting process and what it was like when you got that offer from Nebraska.
Well, with me originally being committed to Kansas State, just the process was a little slower than normal, they said. And then just finally when Nebraska threw me the offer, then I decided that I wanted to go to my dream school and follow that path.
Yeah, how special is that as a Nebraska kid to be able to come play here and wear that in?
Just growing up a Nebraska fan my whole life, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family and everybody that's close and around me.
And multiple Nebraska kids coming in this class. I mean, how important is that for the best talent in Nebraska to come play here?
Well, I know that playing for Nebraska as a Nebraska kid means a lot to everybody. And I know Jake and Ernest are going to think the same way.
And then Barrett Rude, you were working with him right throughout your recruiting process. What was that like, kind of building a relationship with him?
I mean, me and him still talk like once a week. We're on the phone for about 15 to 20 minutes, and he's just a great guy and a great coach.
How exciting as a young linebacker to see kind of what these young linebackers are doing for the Black Shirts this year?
Just being down at practice last week, just watching everybody and especially the linebackers, how hard they work and everything. I just know that's a great group of guys that I'm going to want to be around.
What's the next step? How do you kind of get yourself ready to come in as a freshman and make an impact early?
Well, with me playing basketball this year, I know that in the spring I'm going to have to hit the weights hard and then just be ready for the summer.
How much has basketball and being a two-sport athlete played into the football player that you've been able to come?
Well, just athleticism-wise, I feel like it's helped me a lot. And staying in shape like almost all year around has helped me too.
And, you know, a lot of Nebraska people will know you and know your game, but for Husker fans that might not watch, might be across the country, tell us a little bit about what you're like on the football field.
I work hard. on the football field, and I got a little swagger to me sometimes, so I like that a lot too.
Good stuff. We appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you. But of course, that was not his first game. A couple of those guys, it was their first game when Nebraska played Iowa, but he's seen a lot of them and not going to be here in January again. He will be a summer enrollee. He'll be here in the summer. But again, I don't think we mentioned Victor Jones will also be here in January. And who else did we talk about?
Gould.
He's also going to be here in January.
Yeah, I mean, I think the early guys coming in are important. Especially when we talk about guys that want to contribute right away. It's important to get them here early, but it's not the end of the world if guys don't come until the summer. That's very much okay. I actually advocate guys to stay and finish their senior year because once you get here, it's all business.
All right, let's move along. The next letter that dropped into the football office a couple of hours ago is a tight end from Lakeville, Minnesota, Chase Androff, 6'6", 230. He's the lone tight end in this class, but he played at a powerhouse team up there at Lakeville South High School.
He is a mauler. I mean, you watch this guy's tape, and he's got a few highlights of him going up and getting the ball, but all of his highlights are him just planting people, and I love it. I mean, when you talk about a tight end that wants to just knock people around, this is your guy. And you talk about a tight end room that's got a lot of big guys in it. Vokalek, 6'6", Fedoni's all of 6'5", Austin Allen was 6'9", who's now moved on. I mean, this guy fits the mold for what Coach Beckton and those guys want in this tight end room, and he will absolutely light you up. But once he gets the ball in his hands, he does a nice job of making guys miss and getting down the field. But again, his highlights look like an offensive tackle, and you put him up to 260, 265 and let him go be a great tight end here, he's going to do some special things.
Helped Lakeville South to a 13-0 record, first ever state championship. And oh, by the way, from the same town as Bryce Benhart.
Yeah.
So, but you mentioned he was kind of used primarily as a blocker. Also very, very smart. Listen to the offers he had. Dartmouth, Princeton, and Yale.
That helps. I mean,
did you have any of those?
No, I didn't. I actually got a late offer from Stanford, and they asked me if I'd retake my ACT, and I said no. And they said, you know what, have a great career. And so I was not in that echelon. But that's I mean, the smarter the kids, the quicker they can pick up things, the quicker they can get on the field.
I don't think I'll be interviewing him. I would be a little intimidated.
He's
talking
big.
to Chase Androff just because he's so smart. So are you planting the seed to move him to tackle?
I planted it a little bit. I planted. I mean, hey, we've done it before. Cam Jurgens was a tight end who moved and now is a really good offensive lineman. You see guys do it a lot. They get in here and all of a sudden they're like gain weight, and then they get to about 270. You're like, gain more weight, and then they get to 300. You're like, you play tackle now. So
especially that he's not a diva that wants the ball thrown to him. That he's okay with just being that guy that's
when
blocking.
I pulled his huddle tape up and was watching, I was like, his highlights are blocking. Yes, yes. Like just keep doing it. And he's not just standing in the way. Like he is planting people in the dirt. He has that aggressive mindset. I could see him maybe wandering into old Donovan Rayola's room here in the next year or so.
Well, Sean Beckton is expected to join us a little bit later. I'm going to have to rat you out and say that you're trying to get rid of one of his guys into the offensive line room. All right, let's bring it back close to home, real close to home. A Knight from Southeast, Jake Applegate, is now a Cornhusker outside linebackers, where Nebraska's listing him 6'4", 210-pounder, play with a really good program here in Lincoln.
He is a physical tackling machine. I mean, you look at him, he's one of those dudes that when you're watching the tape, you don't need the little circle around him because you can just see his physical presence. 6'4", 210 pounds. He is rangy. He runs sideline to sideline, makes a lot of plays for them. Also, he has ball skills. He played receiver for the Knights. And so the ability of linebackers having ball skills is becoming more and more important with the RPO game, with the quick passing game. And you want these guys to understand how to go up and get the ball when it's thrown. So, again, another guy, Lincoln kid, grew up here, keeping him in state, and he's going to be another big get for this linebacker room.
What does that do for a team when you have so many guys on a team that are from the state and understand it better than anybody what it's like to wear the N?
Those dudes are really important in the locker room for the education piece of the other guys that come in. I mean, you have guys, that were regional, right? Like I grew up in Colorado. I understood what Nebraska was about, but guys that come in from the South or from the West Coast, East Coast, that maybe didn't watch Nebraska on TV every week or hear about, it's important to educate them so that when things are kind of going crazy around here like they can, it's like, no, this is just normal. Like it's okay. And so keeping guys that are so familiar familiar with this program here so they can help the other guys grow and learn about the program is kind of what they bring there.
We've seen a couple of offensive highlights of him as well. He played two ways. He was a wide receiver on the offensive, but Nebraska sees him more as a defensive player. And I want to go back to a comment. I can't remember which one of you said. I think maybe Jessica, you said it about some guys. The only visit was the Iowa. That had to be impressive to recruits. That was a 3-8 football team, and the place was packed, and it was loud, and the atmosphere was fantastic. And to come in here and go, wow, this is on a year that didn't go well. What will this place be like when it does have a good season? It makes a big impact.
We haven't talked about Richard Torres yet, but he was one of those guys. He had not been to a game here and, visited one time in the summer, fell in love, knew it was a spot for him. So, yeah, he was super excited. I got to imagine also maybe a little overwhelming to walk out there as a high school kid for the first time knowing that's your next spot. But he was really, really excited. And, these Nebraska kids understand it and come all the time. And, that's... all of them said that they had come to multiple games growing up, and then this year I think they were here every chance that they got. But for some of these kids that are from across the country, they didn't have that opportunity. So they were excited about the atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, you got to remember too. A lot of times, 2020, these junior day kids didn't get to come.
Right.
I mean, so often as a junior. I mean, my first visit here was when I was a junior. And so many of these guys take those kind of initial visits as juniors to come and kind of show up. And so their official visits were their only visit.
Right.
And so that's why it was so important and why Husker Nation, I think they understand. But you play such a huge role in recruiting, whether it's packing the stadiums or just the way you follow these kids on Twitter and Instagram. Like, you guys play a massive role in recruiting people here to Nebraska. And they're one of the reasons why you are the greatest in college football.
Yeah, and we always talk about how good interviews offensive linemen are. Linebackers are solid too. These linebackers from Nebraska, I got a chance to talk to all of them. Very, very impressive guys, including Jake, who I got a chance to sit down with at the Iowa game as well. All right, well, Jake, Nebraska kid, I guess just kind of take us through your recruiting process and kind of how you, grow up probably dreaming about playing here, but how you kind of knew that you could come play here.
During the recruiting process with COVID and all, it was really, really slow. But once I was able to get here and have my workout in front of all the coaches and be offered on June 1st, it was kind of a no-brainer. This is where I wanted to be. It's kind of every Nebraska kid's dream to be able to play here in Memorial Stadium. So once I had the offer, it was just a matter of time before I committed.
So you grew up a fan of the Huskers?
Yep. Yeah.
Coming to games?
Yeah, I came to a lot of games with my dad and my uncle. They brought me down and introduced me to it when I was young and fell in love. So
that moment when it's like, hey, you want to come be a Husker here, it's got to be really surreal and emotional for a kid that dreams about playing here.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, to have Scott Frost himself say, we want to extend you an offer and give you a chance to play here. It was pretty amazing.
There's multiple Nebraska kids that are coming in this class, and we've seen some of the teams that have won national titles. There's a lot of Nebraska representation. How important is that for the best players in the state to kind of come play here?
It's really important. It shows a lot about this team and, the culture built around here that even the kids in state want to come play here. And, it sets up a lot for people out of state saying, they're playing there too. We might want to go check out there.
You've been to every game this year, and as a fan growing up, you've probably watched this team very closely. What's kind of your take coming in as a recruit, seeing how close they've been to winning so many games this year?
It's exciting. We're, I think, on the rebuild and on the come up. It's fun to be a part of, and I'm excited to be a part of that in the coming years.
You said Barrett Rood was kind of initially helping to recruit you. He's a linebacker, a Nebraska kid. How cool was that to kind of build initially that relationship with him?
That was pretty sweet. He's a Southeast alum, so you knew a lot about the coaches and who I was playing for at Southeast, and it was just awesome to get to know him really well and talk to him through the recruiting process. And then he introduced me to Mike Dawson, and he's a great guy, and it was pretty sweet.
As again, someone that's coming in and wanting to do big things, how exciting is it to see kind of what these linebackers, the linebacker group has been able to do, and young guys at that, to be able to have such an impact on this defense?
It's pretty awesome to see what Luke Reimer and Garrett Nelson and those type of guys have been doing this year. Gives me hope that maybe one day I can be doing what they're doing. Yeah.
And just being a part of the black shirts, how exciting is that?
that's something you'll never forget, and it's an honor to be able to say you're a black shirt and be a part of that. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And the black shirts have been shutting down offenses and have been playing so well this year, and a lot of them have talked about the culture that they've really bought into this year. What have you kind of seen in that, and how much are you kind of already bought into that, being that you've been so close to the program?
I'd say just as bought in as they are. Having a lot of meetings with Shenander and what he's trying to build and put that culture into those defensive guys, and they've all bought in, and clearly they've been playing really well. So I'm looking forward to being there just as bought in with them.
A lot of people will know and be familiar with your game, but for some Husker fans that might not have seen you play in high school, kind of tell us what you're like out on a football field.
Kind of can do it all. Played wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, linebacker, safety for my team. Wherever you put me, I'm going to do what you need me to do.
And then just finally, and I've been asking everybody, tell us about this recruiting class and how kind of hungry you guys are to come in and help again help this team take the next step.
We're really excited. We got a group chat of the 2022 commits so far, and we're texting it constantly, having a lot of fun, getting to know each other, and we're really excited to get in and start working with each other.
And are you coming in January?
I'm not. No, I'm going to finish out high school.
So then what kind of goes into that process to be able to come here in the summer and be ready to roll?
A lot of prep, a lot of training going into this. Just communicating with coaches while these other kids are getting there earlier to be able to make sure I'm not falling behind.
Linebacker, we talked a lot about how much it means to these kids, and you heard him. You can tell how much it means to him to come here and play here.
Well, you think about it, too. You look at this linebacker room. Reimer, hometown kid, right? That's important to these guys, and they see the hometown kids coming and having success here. They want to come here and have that same success. So really important to get him in there. And, man, we were just talking about it during the break here. Big kid. Big kid. He's gonna get with Duval, and Duval's gonna be like, yep, 230, 240, and just run and hit people. And I think he's one of the bigger signings in this class for that linebacker room.
That will play in the Big Ten Conference.
That will play.
Yeah. What also plays is our coverage of National Signing Day, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto family. Woodhouse first, 18 brands, 16 convenient locations, simplified car buying to save you time. Shop, finance, and buy online at woodhouse.com. Oh, the letters keep coming in. Let's head to the state of Mississippi next. Malcolm Hartzog in Mississippi. He's the first young man from Mississippi to sign with the Huskers out of high school since Brandon Jackson in 2014. He's a corner, Jeremiah, 5'10", 175.
Speed, all speed. You watch this guy. He's got a lot of offensive highlights, but he's that jitterbug speed. He's that not that straight line that we've seen from guys, the wide receiver out of Orlando, Victor. He's more of that quick miss, quickness, inside, juke a guy, and then go the distance. And he's one of those corners that when you look at him, sometimes it looks like, oh, man, he's getting beat, and all of a sudden he makes it up in 1 or 2 steps with that really great speed that he has. He's got good ball skills. His back pedal looks extremely smooth. His ability to tack the football as well when it's up, and he returns punts. He's a returner. We need a returner that can make special things happen. He might be that guy.
And he was a running back, so he played offense, is familiar with having the ball in his hands. Over 1,200 rushing yards on 71 carries, 28 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns, 6 return touchdowns, over 40 touchdowns, basically, that he scored his senior year.
You can't argue with the production. When you look at a guy with the production, and as I'm watching him, as you're seeing more highlights, I hope you're getting excited about a returner, Husker Nation, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to not hold my breath when we punt a football. I'm ready to start going, let's go score. Let's flip the field. Let's make this a really special play. I think this kid in this class could be that guy.
His high school coach said he's probably the best pure athlete to ever come out of his high school. And a kid that's from the South, you mentioned from Mississippi, and Eric Shenander was his main recruiter. He's had some success recruiting down there in the South with these defensive backs.
Again, when you send guys to the NFL from position groups, it attracts guys coming to that position group. Cam Taylor-Britt, whether he knew it or not, was a massive recruiter for this defensive back room. Deontay Williams having the success that he did. Dismuke, all those guys, whether they think they have a piece in this or not, played a pivotal role in getting some of these guys here this year.
MVP of the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star Game, 11 touchdowns in the kick return game, either kickoffs or punts. That will play. And to pull him away from Ole Miss and Southern Miss, 2 schools in his state, that speaks well to the Huskers. So Malcolm Hartzog, a corner from the state of Mississippi, in for the Huskers. So let's bring it back home, right?
Yes.
I love talking about the back home guys. Ernest Hausman, inside backer, out of Columbus. And Jessica, I just wanted your thoughts. You're really impressed with Ernest.
He's probably going to be my favorite in this class. I mean, just sitting down with him, he just is a light and has a remarkable story of how he got to where he is. And you'll learn about it. If you haven't learned about it, you'll learn about it. You can tell just a really, really good human being. And he's played a lot of different positions. Another guy that's moved around the defense and is versatile and athletic.
And for watching him as a young player, he is really good at identifying and attacking. When you talk about a linebacker and what makes a good linebacker, their ability to identify, run pass, identify the scheme, and then just shoot their shot and make the tackle. It's what makes Luke Reimer great. It's what makes a lot of linebackers great. But he does a really nice job of defeating blocks. He uses his hands. You see it right here. Uses his hands, shucks a guy, gets inside, makes the tackle. The other piece, he is sideline to sideline. He is running all over the place. Crazy athlete to be able to get there. And you see guys, this guy's about to turn the corner. He takes the perfect angle and smacks him and puts him out of bounds. Again, another hometown kid in that linebacker room that I think could do a little bit of pass rushing off the edge, but also can play that inside area. If I had to compare him to someone in the NFL, I know it's a long shot, but he reminds me a little bit of Anthony Barr, the way that he's able to do a lot of things. And so I'm excited about him because he had an absolute monster high school career.
The very first commitment of this class, and we talked about it off the top of the show if you're just tuning in, I mean, he's been locked in. He's been helping recruit. He's been all over social media. He has been the Huskers' biggest hype man for this class.
Yeah, you never forget your first, right? I mean, he was the first that came in. He was the ability to come in and kind of the first domino to fall. And people see that. And people see the success that he's had, and they want to mirror that success. And again, we talk about it. I don't know how important and how many times I can drive it home of keeping in-state talent in-state. I mean, when I was in Colorado and I left Colorado, people were like, we can't keep letting I mean, it is so important to keep that connection to your home state. And these few guys that are committed here are just the start of what hopes to be just an absolute monopoly on in-state talent.
People kept coming after him even after he committed. Arizona State, Michigan State all wanted Ernest to be a part of it, so they saw and recognized the talent. He also comes from the best high school nickname in the country, the Columbus Discoverers. Yes. I mean, is that perfect?
It's the best.
I mean, that's unbelievably perfect. You had a chance to sit down with Ernest.
Yeah, and I will say this is, even though he's a Nebraska kid and he was the first commitment of the class, he didn't rush his decision. He wanted to take his visits and make sure that this was the spot for him and not just commit because he was a Nebraska kid. I was very, very impressed with him. I think you guys will be as impressed with him as I was. All right, well, you've been committed to the Huskers for a while now, back in March. Kind of take me back to that decision and why you felt like this is a home for you.
Yeah, I mean, through the recruiting process, I took it really seriously. It was a long one, a lot of deep night thoughts. I really wanted to explore all my options. With my experience coming like halfway across the world, I knew distance wasn't really an issue for me, so I really wanted to see what all the other places had to offer. But once I knew I wanted to come to Nebraska, I let them know.
What was it like? Because I mean, you had a pretty close perspective of Nebraska, being that you're from this state. So what was it that again, after exploring your options, that this was right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of pieces came into play. The main one for me was the type of program this was. We're in a rebuild right now, so that type of thing really intrigued me to come in here. So, with my history and stuff like that, I just thought that was the best fit for me.
Yeah, I mean, people will probably know your story. If they don't, they'll know of it really soon. Just how did your process to get to where you were to become an elite high school athlete, to get an offer in college, how special was that for you and your family?
It was really special. It took a lot of hard work and perseverance. So to see how it all pay off, it's really meant a lot to us.
How much perspective do you feel like you can bring to a locker room, being the things that you and your family have gone through and where you had to work to kind of get to where you are?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to being that, make a difference as fast as I can. Just not be verbally, but be a role model, just with how hard I work on and off the field, and the way I'm in the community as well.
How quickly, because you got here at age 5, right? How quickly did you learn about football and especially here in Nebraska?
I was really fast. My dad played quarterback at Kearney, so he really instilled that really fast in me.
So he's a quarterback. How did you become a linebacker then?
Oh, I've always liked to hit people, from a young age. Once he told me that you're able to do that legally without getting in trouble, that really just made me want to play defense.
There's several linebackers from Nebraska that are in this recruiting class. How exciting is that? That again, you guys have such a perspective of this program, but then also it means a little bit more to where they end.
Yeah, absolutely. Just coming from a Nebraska kid and watching the team play and coming down the games, it really means a lot. You can find that extra passion and resilience from people from Nebraska, so it's really cool to be able to have the opportunity.
You've been committed long before this season, but to see what they've been able to do with these young linebackers this year, how exciting is that, knowing that they can call on some of these young guys to help with this defense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting to see how they're playing. They're playing at a really good rate. Being able to talk to Coach Root every week, and he kind of just gives us a game plan, how they're playing and stuff like that, and we can talk and discuss things. So it's really cool to see how they're playing and how they're developing really good, great players.
And as a young kid that developing a relationship with Coach Root, he played here. He was a linebacker here, went and played in the NFL. How much does that kind of weigh into your decision, knowing that he played here, he did it, and then he went to the next level and did it too?
Absolutely, it played a big role in my decision making. But the thing about Coach Root is, he's 100% real with you. Same person, he's over the phone, texting. He's really an honest guy, so he's true to himself. So it's really awesome to see that.
This whole year we've heard the word close with this team, and it's evident in the score sheet or in the scorebook, on the scoreboard, and the records. So close. But as a recruit coming in, how close is this team? How much do you feel like this recruiting class can help this team get there?
Yeah, I'm really confident. Their time's coming. I know it. I believe it. I'm really ready to get to work with them.
Obviously, you're a great guy. I know Husker fans are going to really appreciate you being a part of this program. But what else do they need to know about you?
For me, it's really, I pride myself in the extra 10%, because, every team's gonna be doing kind of the same things around the world, but you'll find an extra, I guess, level of gear with me.
And then academics, how much did that play into it too?
Yeah, it's a big decision, because when I looked at the school, it wasn't just a 4-year decision for me, it's a whole lifetime decision. They set me up academically for high success, so that really played a big part.
And I've been asking everybody, what's kind of your process to be able to get here and be able to hit the ground running?
It's going to be, I'm coming here early, so I'm getting prepared, making that transition, get everything ready. Just not physically, but mentally as well. It's a different environment, different world I'm be adapting to, so I'm really excited.
I mean, I talked about the linebackers, but you can tell he's super intelligent and, did his due diligence. And even though he was the first commit, he wanted to make sure this was the right spot. And he believes it is.
Yeah, I mean, every class has a leader of their class, right? I mean, for mine, it was Rex Burkhead. And I think that this is a guy that you could look at as the leader of this class, not just on the field, but, I mean, guys get here, again, in-state kid, understands what the program's about, and gravitate towards him to kind of lead the class through their rookie freshman year.
Greg, how's that sun over there?
Good stuff. The sun is out. The sun in Lincoln, Nebraska today.
The sun has risen on signing day.
Sorry, Texas, but the sun is out here in Lincoln, Nebraska today. Let's roll along. Jaleel Martin is our next one. Young man from Chicago, a safety, 6'3" out of Kenwood Academy. Nebraska's been pretty successful in the town of Chicago since joining the Big Ten. Jeremiah, how about Jaleel Martin?
The one thing watching him that really stood out is he's incredibly patient in his coverage. The way that he's able to stop and look and give himself the ability to make a play on the ball. He's not too tight. He doesn't create pass interferences, which in high school level you really shouldn't, but he's glued to his receivers all the time. And another one of those guys that he's able to have good ball skills, not just as the corner, but at the wide receiver position as well.
Yeah, he kind of flew under the radar, I think, because initially he was going as a receiver, and his high school season got canceled due to COVID. So he was doing just individual workouts for teams and actually came and did an individual workout here at Nebraska. But I think what you're seeing at a lot of these defensive backs that the Huskers are bringing in, size and length and versatility.
Yeah, I mean, they have a type that they want to see, and the more NFL style body types that you can get out of guys, the better. And so he's got long arms. But again, another thing all these guys do is they tackle really well. This guy is no exception. He is absolutely monster, sideline to sideline, throws and wraps up. He's not just throwing shoulders in there. He likes to tackle. I think all these DB commits are physical guys, which is going to be really important to Chenander's defense.
How about his commitment story? He committed, verbally committed right before the Ohio State game, told Coach Frost right before they kicked that thing off, and, got to hug Coach Frost and say, hey, I'm going to be a Husker.
On the field. How about that? That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story. He had a dozen Power 5 school offers. Illinois wanted him. Colorado wanted him. Boston College wanted him as well. All right, folks are screaming. They're screaming. Talk about the quarterback. So let's talk about Richard Torres, the 6'5" quarterback out of San Antonio, Texas.
I mean, Richard Torres is going to be a really special player for us. 6'5", 210. I'm fairly certain he's coming in early. To come in.
Yep.
He'll be here early. And you talk about a position that is in very much need with the departure of your fearless leader, Adrian Martinez, for the last 4 years coming in. He's a long stride guy. When he runs, he doesn't necessarily look like he's moving incredibly fast, but he is covering a lot of ground. He is moving when he runs. But the nice thing, he delivers a great deep ball. His deep ball is phenomenal to watch. He puts it right on the money. He does everything he needs to do. But the other piece is he's going to need to speed up his release a little bit. I think that's one thing that they'll work on with him here is getting that release a little bit quicker. He's a little Cam Newton-y in the way that it kind of arcs himself back to then throw it forward. Speed that up a little bit, but he's a gamer, man. He keeps his eyes downfield, and a lot of times when you're talking about quarterbacks, they just like to scramble to run. He likes to scramble to create the pass. He keeps his eyes downfield, which is a really good quality for a young quarterback.
So missed out on his senior season, had a season-ending injury at the beginning of his senior season, but as a junior, over 1,100 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 7 games, 5 rushing touchdowns. And you mentioned his ability to scramble. I mean, he's another athletic guy. He played basketball and actually thought basketball was going to be his direction. So he talked about how, the mental side of football wasn't something that he really dove into, and because he didn't feel like he needed to, because he was going to play basketball at the next level, right? But he always had this very special arm, a cannon of an arm. So when COVID hit and he couldn't go into the gym and he couldn't play AAU basketball, he really dove into, figuring out the mental side of football. And that's where he kind of really took off. How about this? He got 5 offers in a 7-day span. It really took off from there. I mentioned at the top of the show, he came here and visited in the summer, fell in love, and committed I think like 2 days after he came to Lincoln.
It's not, once you get kids here, it's really pretty easy to recruit. The hard piece is like, hey, get on a plane and come to Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, and everyone's kind of like, ugh. But once they get here and see the special piece of this, especially talk about quarterbacks that play early here, Taylor Martinez, Tommy Armstrong, Adrian Martinez. Like, we have a track record that if you're good enough to play as a freshman, we will play you. And that's a big draw to a lot of kids.
This is a big dude, by the way. 6'6". When I interviewed him, I was like, dang, you are big. You are a big dude.
Yeah, I mean, and 210, he's not a light guy either. I mean, you put another 15, 20 pounds on him, and you're talking about a freight train rolling through there when he's running the football.
Only got to play 4 games this year before that knee injury, but threw for 900 yards in those 4 games and 12 touchdowns. I can't wait for Coach Whipple to get his hands on Richard Torres.
Yeah, and he's just the 4th player from Southside High School, where he's graduating, to play at an FBS football school, the first Power 5 player that's going to play football at the next level. So this means a lot to him. And, he was a guy that, Southside, where he played, isn't known for football, right? But he wanted to stick there, and he's a very loyal guy and wanted to represent the Southside where he is from. And I know it means a lot to him to be able to come and make a name for himself here at Nebraska.
And you had a chance to talk to Richard.
I did. For his very first game that he was here, he was excited, and we kind of started off, but about how the rehab is going. All right, well, welcome to Nebraska. I know you committed, and you're visiting here this weekend for Iowa. Richard, let fans know what you like to be called.
Richard is fine.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we heard earlier in this year that you tore your ACL and you're kind of going through that rehab process. How are you? Where are you at in that process?
I'm doing good. I'm moving around fine. I'm thinking I'm recovering pretty good, and I'm excited, just see how it all comes along.
So take me back to the summer and your visit and when you kind of knew that this was the spot for you.
I just felt like home. I love the place. It's really small town, and like coming out, since yesterday we were driving around and just, getting a feel for the town, and I really like it. It reminds me a lot of home.
What about Scott Frost? I mean, I read that you were really impressed and really liked your time with him. What was it about him that you were really impressed by him?
He's just an honest guy. He's straight up with you, and he'll tell you how it is, and I like that. He's a cool guy, and I like to just be around him.
As a quarterback, how much did that kind of draw you in, appeal to you that he was also a quarterback and he won a national title as a quarterback?
That's different. I was watching some like old tapes of him, and it's pretty cool. You know, the energy he brings to the team, and it was interesting.
How would you evaluate Coach Frost as a quarterback?
He was a tough guy. Take hits, he could lay hits too, so it was nice.
So, obviously there's going to be some changes with this offense. What kind of kept you committed to the Huskers?
Just because I believe in Coach Frost and I believe what he tells me. So, and my family's back behind him too, and we're all just supportive.
So standing next to you, you're tall, 6'6", right? I mean, kind of tell us what you're like as a quarterback. I know you can run, but obviously have a big arm as well.
Yeah, I think I'm really agile. I can move around in the pocket, avoid rushers, and then launch it downfield if I have to. So.
When did you kind of realize that you could maybe play college football and be a quarterback at the next level?
Around like the end of my sophomore year. That's when I was like moving up. I just always wanted to just play high school football. I just thought that was gonna end there, and then my coach told me, you could take it to the next level, and then I didn't really see it for myself, but as it came along, I mean, I got blessed. I was really blessed.
So when was the last time you were here in Lincoln?
Like June, July.
So you haven't been to a game day here yet?
No, this is my first one.
What are kind of your expectations for what you're about to see?
I expect it to be loud. I expect to see a lot of red and just a good game.
I know when you kind of go through the process, it can be a long process. And then, once you commit, and then you still have some high school football. But now that it's kind of getting closer and you're closer to signing day and actually kind of, making that next step, how does that feel knowing that it's so close now?
I'm just excited. It's all coming a little fast, but I really am excited. I get up here January 15th, and I'm just looking forward to it all. Me and my family are.
So you are going to enroll early. What kind of went into that decision?
Just because, I want to get a head start, I seen, the quarterback room and how it is, and, things are on the team, so I think it'd be best if I just came up early.
And then have you talked to coaches and the staff about kind of continuing your rehab and whatnot when you get here?
Yeah, I've talked to them. They said we're just going to, when I get here, everything's just going to get moved over here, so I'm excited too. I mean, I know you have a lot of nice equipment here.
So, you talked a little bit about what you bring as a quarterback, but what can Husker Nation expect from Richard Torres when he gets here in Lincoln?
Just a good player. I don't really know. That's a tough question. I really can't answer that, but I mean, I'm just excited to come up here.
You're going to work hard and then do all, because we've had Adrian Martinez for so long, and so, we see how great of a representation it is. Like, as a quarterback, it's kind of more than just going out there and playing quarterback. You're kind of a leader and a spokesperson for the program, right?
Right. I mean, that's your vocal leader is, it's what I bring a lot to. When I played on previous teams, basketball, football, I've always been a vocal leader and just led by example also.
And then just tell us a little bit about this recruiting class. I know you've been very hyped about it on social media. Right. Tell us a little bit about this recruiting class and how excited you guys are all to get here and kind of help, again, kind of take that next step.
We're all just excited. There's a couple of us enrolling early, and we're just all looking forward to it. We've talked a lot about it, and yeah, we're just all looking forward to it.
You made the drive up from San Antonio, nonstop.
Yeah.
Did you drive through the night?
Yeah, we drove through the night. We left like around 9, 10 at night, and then we didn't get here till around 12, midday yesterday.
And so pulling into Lincoln, it felt like home.
Yeah, it looked nice. I mean, just everything. My family loves it. I love it.
All right, well, we appreciate your time and can't wait to see you here in Lincoln.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Today we were asking you about the early signing day and, committing to coaches. This is a guy that committed to Scott Frost, was really, really impressed and really believed in him when he met Coach Frost.
It helps when you have a head coach that played the position, and he understands what it is to play the position here specifically. Nebraska's great, but the quarterback position is a really hard play to play here because we've had so many great quarterbacks that have come and gone in that position that there's a high standard for anyone that steps behind center there. And so I think Coach Frost helped him navigate that. And you just can tell he's got a very cool, calm demeanor about him. Like, he kind of seems the Adrian, nothing really rattles him up and down. I mean, rehabbing from that injury, I'm excited to see what he can do.
And you have another quarterback on the staff. Mickey Joseph.
That's
so you
right.
have two guys that have played that position here. That's going to help anybody, I think, even though he's not going to be his position coach. Mickey knows what the pressures are like to be the quarterback here.
Yeah, and I mean, being the passing game coordinator, you're going to work very closely with Mickey Joseph as well. And so you've got two of those guys that will be absolutely there helping develop you and work your way through. And, man, talk about a guy, Mark Whipple, that was able to develop a guy like Kenny Pickett. He's probably looking at him going, man, he's got the frame, he's got the size, I can fix up some of those mechanics, and I can build him from the ground up of what we want him to be here.
Because Pickett was very average and, wasn't a Heisman caliber type of quarterback before Whipple got a hold of him.
I mean, quarterback is the ultimate developmental role in college. I mean, you can come in as you can throw a football and not hit a wall to being elite by the time you leave a college program. So much that is based off development from the coaching position, and he's one of those guys that has the baseline ability. Now it's about, can we develop him into being what we want him to be?
Okay, we have one more that is in. So this will be the 10th one we've gotten in so far this morning. It is Deshaun Singleton, is a junior college addition. He's a defensive back, a safety, just committed to the Huskers a couple of days ago, spent his last couple of years at Hutch JUCO down in Kansas. 6'3", 205, and they're 6'3", big guy in that defensive secondary.
Another rangy guy, too. One thing that he loves to do, and one thing that they did a lot there in Hutchinson, was he was that center of the field, middle field safety guy. He was the one that they trusted to, hey, we're playing cover 1, we're playing cover 3. You play that middle field position, read those eyes, and go make a play on the football. He has a lot of times where he's coming up and he's breaking on the ball. He's an absolute ball hawk. He had a bunch of interceptions last year. The other thing, too, is they line him up in man coverage against those tight ends, against those slot players. And he, again, is the guy that looks like he's beat, but then makes it up with that last step and that extra arm strength. And he's kind of baits quarterbacks into thinking that they're open and throwing the football to him. Again, in a room that loses so much, he's a guy that could come in and contribute right away next year as well.
And going to have 3 years of eligibility remaining, plus a redshirt year if that's needed. But you talked about just his athleticism. There is a video that's on Twitter of him dunking a basketball that is just jaw-dropping. So, again, another very, very athletic guy. I think he, again, maybe a guy that fell under the radar a little bit out of high school. He played quarterback, and, this is his first time this past year at Hutchinson playing full-time defensive back. And so he's kind of been a sponge. His high school coach his coach at Hutchinson just really raved about how he's a student of the game. He's a sponge and just works extremely hard at his craft.
One thing, too, you always hear about it. You want DB coaches always say we want our DBs to run the routes for the receiver, right? Mm-hmm. When you talk about a guy that played quarterback, he understands the tendencies of these routes. Hey, is this a third down? Okay, they like to run slants. They run hook curls. This is a deep post. Like, I'm going to run the route for this receiver so that when this quarterback throws it, like, I'm there and I'm ready to take it. Those guys that can cross-train like that usually become one of the better defensive backs in the country when they can play both.
And I think, again, hopefully we'll get to talk to a few of these guys throughout the day, but I think, because he didn't necessarily have a big-time offer out of high school, decided to go the JUCO route and, ended up being an academic qualifier in just 1 year. A lot of times, sometimes it takes guys 2 years, but I think he's the guy that's hungry. A lot of times you see those JUCO guys come in and really want to fight for their spot out there on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. They come in with a chip on their shoulder, absolutely, and it breeds good competition for everyone around them, especially as they're a little bit of an older guy. They're not a freshman, right? They've been around the block once or twice. They have just that little bit more of experience, which absolutely helps.
Huge, I think, that he's got 3 seasons of eligibility left. That's a really big caveat. It's almost really like getting another high school player into the system, but he's played a year at a little higher level, the junior college level, and he was really good at that. All right, so that leaves us at 10. Let's recap as we get close to the top of the hour. Barrett Ruud's going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. Victor Jones, the wide receiver from Florida, is in. Jaden Gould, the defensive back out of New Jersey. A late get for the Huskers and a good one. He came in earlier this morning. Gabe Stinger from Millard South. His name has already hit the official approval. Chase Androff, the tight end from Minnesota. Jake Applegate from Lincoln Southeast. Malcolm Hartzog, the defensive back from Mississippi. Ernest Hausman from Columbus. Again, the Discoverers. I'm going to work that in about 12 times here today. And then Jaleel Martin, Richard Torres, Deshaun Singleton. Those are the 10. 3 on offense, 7 on defense, the breakout of the 10 that are in yet. We're not done. There's going to be more that come trickling in throughout the rest of the day. But that's your early start as we get close to the 9 o'clock hour here on our coverage on Huskers.com of National Signing Day, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto family. Shop Woodhouse first, 18 brands, 16 convenient locations. Simplified car buying to save you time. Shop finance, buy online at woodhouse.com. And delighted now to be joined by Barrett Root, Huskers inside linebackers coach and in charge really of in-state recruiting. Congratulations, Coach. What's this feel like today? I mean, you guys have put in months of hard work to get to today. What's it feel like right now?
Stress-free, which has been good. There's no big surprises, which I always like. There's a reason I don't gamble. I don't go to Vegas and gamble very much. I don't like coming in and sweating. So our guys were right on time with their signatures. So we were pretty happy.
I mean, you talk about keeping in-state talent at the building, but talk about in-state in your position here. You got 2 of these linebackers that are phenomenal players. Keep them in state. How important was that for you in this program?
Yeah, it really is. I think it always, it always means a lot to play for Nebraska, but especially when you're from here and you grew up watching it, I think it means a little bit more. But it was huge. Ernest, we've recruited for a long time. It was funny because I think we were his first offer, but he got a lot of attention around the country. And, at the end of the day, he decided he wanted to stay home, and we were thrilled. And he's been great. He's been one of those guys that I think he was our first commit. And he's, anymore with social media and the access these guys have with each other, he was great as far as reaching out to other recruits and talking with these guys. So he's kind of been a staple with that. And then Gage was a guy that, in all honesty, his senior film was outstanding. And we pursued him a little bit later once his senior year got going. But we were really, really fortunate to get him as well because he was outstanding his senior season. And then Jake Applegate from Lincoln Southeast. If I lose a Lincoln Southeast guy, I'm going to really be depressed. So, no, it was great to keep those guys here, and I'm excited for them to be a part of it.
Yeah, is it a prerequisite that we have to have a night every year?
I think so. I think that's going to be part of the deal. And I'll like I said, if I lose one of those guys, Chuck Mazursky's going to hunt me down. So I can't do that.
Well, as I said, there's 10 that are in, 7 on the defensive side of the ball. We have some more offensive ones, I think, that are coming in later today. But and secondary was where you attacked some, and you lost a lot out of that back end of the defense.
Yeah, that was the big focal point this year. Just every year is a little bit different, but this was a year where we had three seniors leave in the secondary, so it was big that we reloaded there and we really concentrated there. For example, true linebacker, Ernest was the only one in that class. Gage is kind of a little bit of a wild card where he can play a bunch of spots for us, potentially linebacker, nickel, maybe safety if need be. And don't rule out quarterback, too. I don't want to – Coach Frost might steal him. Who knows? But he's a little bit of a wild card, which I always love those guys that are versatile. I think anymore with the way football is trending, as many versatile athletes as you can have, the better. And it's our job to find a spot where they can use their talents.
Looking at this class, we're seeing a trend. Bigger DBs, bigger guys, and as you watch their huddle tape, you can tell these are all guys that like to attack the football and tackle. I mean, was that something you guys were addressing this offseason? Like, hey, we got to make sure we have DBs that in the Big Ten, you got big backs that like to bounce outside, aren't afraid to stick their nose in there and really go get after someone.
Yeah, I think length and athleticism is a requisite anymore, and I think that aggressive nature, just like you said, that's a big deal, and you can't have, I don't want to use the Deion Sanders example. Deion wasn't big on tackling. Obviously, if you got Deion, you take Deion. But we're always saying, hey, we got to have 11 guys on the field that can tackle. Because when the quarterback can run the ball, you're playing 11 on 11, and you can't have a guy that's afraid or unwilling to go make a tackle on a Big Ten back. So that's a big deal. And I think all the guys we got on that back end are football players first, which is a big deal because they can go down and put their face in there and make a tackle.
Barrett Rood's with us here on our coverage of National Signing Day on Huskers.com. There's been a flip over of some staff. How difficult has the last 30 days been? I mean, probably more responsibility on you guys that were still here to go pick up some loose ends.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you got coaching changes. You know, you lose friends, but at the same time, kind of like you said, we had to pick up the slack a little bit, and you know, recruiting this time of year is always a little bit stressful, and always you feel like there's not enough time in the day. Probably a little bit more so this year, but you know, we got some of the new guys in late this past week, and you know, we've all been excited to have them in the building too.
Some of these young men that are signing today are going to be here in a month. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I know Gage is not. But
maybe less than a month. I'm trying to remember. About a month, actually. I think you're right. But yeah, you know, and that's just becoming the new norm. I think it's going to be more and more popular that you know, guys are going to come mid-year. Not saying that's the only answer, but you do get a big-time head start. I mean, you get to basically learn how to be a college student before the season gets going, which it's a big deal, because you know, when your first semester is football season, it's like, whoa, you know, this is a big shock. But when you come in winter, you can kind of get your legs under you, I guess, for a better term. You get used to going to class, you get used to having your own schedule, you're used to what the football schedule is going to be. So those guys do get a little bit of an advantage when they come in early.
I was just kind of sitting here thinking, man, signing day has evolved so much from when even I played. I mean, from what have you seen as kind of the trend of what signing day has turned into, and not the spectacle, but how excitement, I mean, the excitement it kind of really builds around, and how important it really is to these kids nowadays too.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was trying to think back to my signing day. It was definitely uneventful. You know, like I said, there were no cell phones. You know, we did a signing deal at Lincoln Southeast. But yeah, now, I mean, gosh, with social media and just how much communication is going back and forth. Like I said, it was great for us this year because it was stress free. And you know, with the new signing period, I honestly think it's been a little bit less stressful than in the past when it was the old, you know, February signing day. That's where I think there was a little bit more surprises. I think with the new signing day, there's a little bit less of those. Okay, you know, I take the hat off on, you know, sign day. I think that was a little bit more common when there was just one of them. So as far as a stress standpoint, I think there's been a little bit less with the new signing period.
To add some more in-state guys into your room is not unusual. The two guys that played an awful lot of football for you this year, and Luke and Nick, in-state players, and man, coach, they made huge strides this year. Yeah, they made a big jump, both of them. I think, you know, Nick, you know, first and foremost, stayed healthy. That was his biggest thing, and I'm extremely excited for him to have a healthy offseason too. I think he said he's had, you know, going back to high school, 4 straight seasons where he's had to rehab in the offseason. And as Jeremiah knows, you know, it's different when you're rehabbing versus training. Rehabbing, you're just trying to get back to where you were, and then you get going. I was fortunate enough where I never had a lot of rehab until my last year, and I was a different human after I had to go rehab for a year as well. So I'm really excited for him and his progress to have a full year to really get stronger, to really attack an offseason program. And then, you know, Luke, same way, and I was proud of him because he actually dealt with an injury all through the year and kind of played on a little bit of a bum hip, and he got that fixed. And, you know, both those guys on a day-to-day basis were outstanding. That was what I was most proud of, is that those guys really understood how to work. They attacked it like pros, and every day they were in there, they were intent, they were wired, they were ready to go, and the work was outstanding on a day-to-day basis, and that's what led to good results. How about some guys behind them that maybe didn't get as many snaps because of the durability of those two guys that you love, but did you see development for some guys behind them?
Sure, yeah. I mean, Garrett Snodgrass, you know, he's continually getting better on a day-to-day basis. You know, this is also what's exciting about spring ball coming up is the guys like Seth Malcolm, Randolph Kapai, Mekhi Beyer from New Jersey. You know, those guys are actually going to get a chance to compete, and that's, you know, with the scout team, a lot of times, you know, sometimes those guys, they don't get the opportunities during the year, but now they're going to get a full off season. They're going to be right in the mix. Hopefully, get a little bit more playing time, cut a little bit of the reps off of Luke and Nick.
When you start new guys, like, you lose Colin Miller, you lose Will Honus, you got 2 new guys, the install changes. And people don't understand, like, when you're installing, you now have 2 guys coming back. How much more are you willing to put on these guys' plate early, talking about Reimer and Henrich and the guys behind them? But you're now kind of opening the playbook up a little bit more. How exciting is that for you as a coach?
It's really exciting. That's a great point because of how much football those guys have played, it basically forces everybody else to be at that same level, because we're not going to slow down, and those guys, they're at graduate level in this defense, and the nice part is, a guy like Snod, he can process things the same way, and what I think is great for our room is now those guys, I'm going to put a lot on those guys to teach the younger guys, because there's going to be meetings where I'm going to say something that's a little bit next level, and Luke and Nick will be like, whatever, yeah, I got you, easy. But some of those guys that haven't heard that before, they're going to be in the back like, what? Wait a minute, that's not this. That's not in the playbook. Yep. And those guys, that's where, I throw back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneer examples. Derek Brooks, Shelton Quarles, that's what those guys taught me. Well, this is what the playbook says. Like, yeah, that's what the playbook says, but you're going to get to this after a few reps out there with the real guys. So I'm excited for those guys to be able to, help in the teaching progression of the young guys.
Do you remember watching Mickey Joseph play?
I got Mickey Joseph's autograph, I think, when I was 9 years old. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I was, because he was 1991 or 2.
Yeah.
So maybe I was 8. So he was one of the first autographs I got.
Maybe he'll update one for you.
Yeah, I say, yeah.
Might charge him a little bit more this time.
I say, I don't know. I won't lie. I don't know where that autograph is. I may have been gone for a while, but no, Mickey's been awesome. I actually played for his brother Vance in Houston as well. So. Yeah. But yeah, he's been great, and like I said, he's an old man because I was watching him when I was a little guy. But it's great to have him back.
Yeah, I have to remind him of that every now and then, Barrett.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I know a lot of work's gone into this, putting this class together, and it looks like the additions just to your room alone are going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, we're excited. It's a good day, stress-free day, so now we can start getting back to football again.
Get your Christmas shopping done.
Exactly.
Thanks, Barrett. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Barrett Rood, Huskers inside linebackers coach, handles the recruiting on the in-state front for Nebraska. Good haul there with those 3 in-state kids. We've already introduced you to all 3 of them today, and engaged Jake and Ernest, who all talked with Jessica earlier today. This is our signing day coverage brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family. Shop Woodhouse first. 18 brands, 16 convenient locations. Simplified car buying to save you time. Shop finance, buy online at woodhouse.com. I have not checked the last couple minutes. Have I missed anybody else in besides the 10 that were in earlier?
No official email yet.
So we're in a holding pattern. We're like circling Memorial Stadium in a holding pattern here. You maybe are making some contact here with one of the 10 that we have not heard from today. Jalil Martin's going to be joining us here soon, right?
Yeah, just spoke with him, and he's got school coming up starting at 9:20.
They didn't get school out today because of high winds,
right? So he should be joining us any minute now. But yeah, I'm anxious to hear about when he committed and told Coach Frost right before the Ohio State game. And, again, a guy, I think he's not really one that necessarily was into all the hype of everything, kind of a low-key guy, flew under the radar a little bit, but another versatile defensive back that we're talking a lot about today.
And size. Again, another 6'3" guy in that safety along with Singleton, who did sign. So we're at 10 here on National Sign Day. We need to congratulate Jeremiah. He correctly picked the Navy in the Army-Navy game last week. So he got a victory.
I got a bonus point.
You only picked them to pick against me.
Doesn't matter. It's still a W. I call her. I go, go shit. She goes, that game didn't count. I was like, what do you mean that game? She goes, Greg was kind of just joking around about it. So. Yeah, that's how that works, I guess. If I win, it doesn't count. Weird. Yeah. That's how it goes.
That was a fun game. In fact, I read the other day that it was the 3rd highest watched college football game of the season. So people were I love the Army uniforms. Those things were beautiful. I love those.
That's
things.
a bucket list game for me to go to live and in person. I mean, there's few. I mean, there's like the Iron Bowl's one. Yeah. I mean, Army Navy's the other, and then I do want to go to the game one of these days of Ohio State Michigan. Yeah. I mean, those are the 3 some of the greatest rivalries in college football right there.
All right, the other bit of news that popped right after we got off the air last night on Sports Island was that Cam Jurgens is officially now going to be throw his name into the ring for the NFL draft. Jessica, we said last night that's kind of what our gut was telling us that was going to happen. I can't say disappointed because when you're ready, you need to go. And Jeremiah, you know this too. Your NFL careers can be really short, so when you're ready, you probably need to get in there.
Yeah, and you talk about a guy like Cam Jurgens who's had injury history, right? I mean, this was his first season. He finished fully healthy. It's important to make sure you get into the league off a healthy year. You don't want to come into the league having to rehab, much like Barrett Ruud just said. Rehabbing going into the NFL is really hard to do. So I think the timing worked out for Cam Jurgens. He had a really solid season, third-team All-Big Ten player going in there, and athletically, he's gonna outmatch just about anyone he tests up against.
Yeah. All right, you got Jaleel?
Jaleel Martin is joining us from Chicago, Illinois, joining us live here on our signing day show. Jaleel, thanks for taking some time. I know you got school coming up at 9:20, so we'll get you out of here quickly. How does it feel that now you are officially a Husker, officially this morning?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you if you were
saying. Can you hear me now? You got me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? All right. I guess we're having some audio issues with Jaleel. We'll try to get those worked out. Okay. First time trying this, so hopefully we'll get it figured out. You got back here quickly.
I did the Chris Collinsworth.
You ran the 4.40 right there.
The Collinsworth slide in on Sunday Night Football as I power slide into the mic stand here. But we'll talk about more Cam Jurgens, little Cam Jurgens this year.
You didn't pull a hammy or anything.
I didn't pull a hammy. I'm an elite physical performance.
Well, you've been sitting in blinds for 2 months. I'm not sure you'd be in elite
condition. This freaking weather, I can't kill anything in this weather. You killing me? It's too hot.
Too warm.
It's unbelievable. December,
winter's coming, though.
Well, the winds are coming today, so apparently they're going to blow us away all across the state. That we can't even send guys to school. School being closed. That's wild to me.
Looks nice out right now.
Gorgeous out right now. I mean, I'm looking at this giant crane behind me. I'm looking at this giant crane behind me. It's not even moving.
I don't want that thing near me when it gets windy later
absolutely
today.
not.
All right.
Jaleel, ready?
I think so.
Okay.
Jaleel, you got me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit.
Okay, awesome. You're joining us live from Chicago before you got to go to school, so we appreciate it. How does it feel to officially be a Husker this morning?
It feels amazing. Especially coming from where I come from, it feels real good to accomplish something like this.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Why does this mean so much to you?
Just making my family proud, making my friends proud, making my coaches proud, and just seeing all my hard work pay off.
So you have a really cool commitment story. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but love to get your take on it. How did you tell this team and Coach Frost that you were going to be a Husker?
It was actually before the Ohio State game, on the field, I walked up to him, and just after, I was already there the night before, and after my first day, and then being with those guys that morning before the game, it was a no-brainer. I didn't have any intentions of committing when I went there, but after that, I told him right before the game I was ready to.
How special was that to get to share that moment with him? I know you guys hugged right there on the field before the game even got kicked off.
Yeah, it was real special. It felt surreal being in front of all the fans and in the middle of the stadium doing that.
I know you had a tough go at it because of COVID, a season cut short. You had to do a lot of this on your own to get to where you are. How hard was the process, and how rewarding is it now that, I know you had to go to do one-on-one workouts and kind of travel to places to kind of get yourself seen?
It was actually really difficult, and it took a lot of sacrifice from myself and my family and my coaches, making those trips to camps and other one-day camps at different schools and things of that nature. And then with the COVID season being short, I had to put in a lot of work and do a lot to get the exposure that I have.
Your first ever, your high school, you guys won the first ever public league championship. What went into that? How cool was that?
That was real cool, especially just being able to make history at the school, doing something to be remembered here.
You also played wide receiver. How has that played into the defensive back that you've become, being that you played the guy that you got to go up against every single time?
Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier, actually. And it helps me because being a receiver, you have to have good footwork and great ball skills. And if you have that as a defensive back, then you're going to be real, real good. Like, you're going to be able to guard those receivers, big receivers like me, for example.
Tell Husker fans what they can expect to see out of Jalil Martin when he gets out on the field here inside Memorial Stadium.
You guys are going to expect a very, very hard worker. You guys are getting somebody that's very hungry and that really wants to make a name for themselves. And you guys will see in the future what type of player I am, how much of an impact I'll bring to the school and the program.
You talked about it earlier that you came to a game, you didn't think you were going to commit, but how much did Husker Nation and that atmosphere on a game day play into why you wanted to be here?
Man, the atmosphere is always crazy there, and the fans are diehard fans. Like, probably the best fan base I've ever encountered out of all the schools that recruited me. So all of those guys, seeing everything on social media and everything, seeing all the love from the fans, it really mean a lot.
So you got finals. How's school going? Are you almost out for Christmas break?
Yeah, this is actually our last week. Our last day of school is Friday. So, yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy it. Congratulations on becoming a Husker, and thanks for calling in. I'll get you to class so you're not late. Don't blame it on us, okay?
I got you. Thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I mean, I love that. I mean, I remember signing day, you're wearing your Husker hoodie and everyone's congratulating you and you're walking around like it's a fun day to go to school. It's a fun day when you got your letter of intent. And I mean, you heard about stress-free from Coach Rude. Like, as a player, as a kid, it's kind of relieving. I mean, the recruiting process, I mean, I thought it was overwhelming when I was just getting phone calls and letters in the mail. Nowadays with social media, I can imagine it being incredibly overwhelming. And so to have it just be done and over with and just to be able to focus on either coming here early or being able to focus on your last semester in high school has to be a relief for a lot of these kids too.
That was fun. We've got another LIN that has come
Nice.
in. Brody Tagaloa is now officially in the fold, the only defensive lineman in this early signing class. He's a Pittsburgh, California, De La Salle High School. He's 6'4", 260. And this is some tape we're going to put up with him. Jeremiah, how about Tagaloa?
Well, first of all, I mean, De La Salle is a bit of a powerhouse coming out of California. You have a lot of players that come out of there, a lot of really quality football players here. As I was doing the film study on him, he has really long arms coming off the edge. He's not a super tall guy at 6'4", but his wingspan looks long from what you can see here. He needs to work on getting his hips around a little bit more as he comes through, but that's how most players are. But he has the intangibles of he pushes the pocket, he's able to get to the quarterback, he's disruptive, and all those things. And when you're looking at D linemen, especially at the high school level, you look at their read and react ability. How quickly can he identify pass, run? How quickly can he identify pull or spill or box? And I know we're getting a little football-y here, but he does a really nice job with all of those things and his identifying of certain blocks, and he's going to be a fun guy to watch.
People love it when you get in the weeds.
I love getting in the weeds. Getting the football-y in the weeds.
It comes from a very athletic family. Both brothers played college football. Boss played offensive lineman. He was an offensive lineman at UCLA. And Bo currently plays fullback. How about that? A fullback at Cal. But I thought this was very interesting and speaks volumes about Tony Tuioti. Of course, he's of Polynesian descent and of the Polynesian culture. And he wanted to play for a Polynesian coach. And one of my first assignments was the Big Red Blitz and got a chance to travel with Coach T to the couple of stops that we went. And you can just tell, how much he loves his guys. It is a family in that room, and that means so much to these guys. And he accepted an invite to participate in the Polynesian Bowl on January 22nd in Honolulu. And again, playing for someone with a Polynesian coach was definitely contributed to his decision.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see it. I've played with a lot of Polynesian guys. They are strong. They are just strong human beings. And you see it on tape with him when he locks out and he gets full extension on guys. When you have guys that are sitting there just chopping their feet in place and he's got them at full extension, reading and reacting. And in the Big Ten, you need big, strong guys on the defensive line to stop the run. And you're going to see it get in. Again, another guy, I mean, Duval reads these lists and just starts mouth-watering. He sees visions for physically what these guys can be. And, I mean, this is a guy that he's coming in at 260, probably going to play around 285, 290 pounds. So he's got a lot of work to do, but those guys they're strong players.
He's athletic, too. Also played tight end and played basketball for 7 years. Didn't play football until he got back into it as a sophomore in high school. So So he's coming in pretty green, but I think that was one thing that Coach Tuioti saw a lot of potential in him.
Yeah, when they come in green like that, they don't really have that many bad habits to break, right? I mean, they're good athletes, but they haven't had a chance to develop bad habits coming out of high school ball, and coaches love that, and it really gives guys kind of a better chance to play on earlier if they don't have to tear themselves down to build themselves back up.
We had Donovan Raiola on Sports Highlight last night and talked about why didn't you come to Nebraska? He didn't want to follow his brother's footstep. Well, Brody's doing the same thing as his brother, Bo, as Jessica mentions, at Cal. And Cal wanted Brody, but he decided to go a different direction. So Nebraska out-recruits Cal and Washington State, a couple of Pac-12 schools, to get Tagovailoa to come to Nebraska. So he becomes the 11th member of this class to officially be in today. You know, people wonder about that defensive line because college forever, Ben Stille's career, I think, is officially over. And then DeAndre Thomas is gone, Damian Daniels is gone, but I feel like there's quite a bit of depth in that room, and I think they're going to be okay.
I think they're really going to be okay. The one that really stings is Daniels. The other ones you knew, okay, those guys were moving on, but Daniels was the one guy you were kind of really just crossing fingers, hoping he came back. And, I mean, he had such a phenomenal year. I mean, you talk about Cam Jurgens, very similar with Daniels, right? I mean, you got lightning in a bottle a little bit. You don't know what the next year might hold, and that's tough for them. But you look across the board of that D-line, and a guy that kind of pops out to me is Nash. I think Nash is a guy who played some really good football towards the end of the year. This year, he got it cutting his teeth against Wisconsin. I mean, playing really meaningful snaps against Wisconsin. Jordan Riley was a guy that got in there as well. And so there's not like a big hole that's going to take. It's going to take multiple guys to find the right guy, but I think that room's full of good guys, really talented, but also hardworking guys that are really going to be hungry to come out and pick up where these guys left off. That left a legacy of what that D-line room should look like.
You know, you've got Jalen Weaver redshirted this past year. He was a California
massive human.
He's like the size of the stadium almost. You've got a couple of young men who redshirted this past year in that room that I think are going to get into the fray. Ty Robinson could be a bit of an anchor up there. Casey Rogers certainly has shown the ability to play. There's enough bodies that I think Coach Tuioti is going to be just fine.
I mean, Casey Rogers, if he can stay healthy, I mean, you saw it took him most of the year to battle back to get to where he wanted. And when you get an injury in camp, man, it makes for a long season. You're never really back to 100%. You're just constantly chasing back to where you were, much like Rue talked about. So if Casey Rogers and Ty Robinson are the two guys I'm looking to be the guys, right? Those two guys need to be the dudes in that room, the leaders, both on the field, off the field, in the weight room, summer conditioning, all of that. It's on those two guys' shoulders with the departure of Ben Stille because he's been their leader in there since Nam. So that's just kind of how that goes. So now I am. And so you got those two guys that kind of pass the torch to them. It's now young guys looking up to them to take the reins. And again, there's big shoes to fill, but there's a great opportunity for a lot of these guys coming in.
Yeah, so that's a room that'll be interesting to watch as you go into spring ball, and there's playing time available, and that will motivate some guys who now go, oh, there are snaps available. This past year I knew I wasn't getting on the field, so I can cruise. I can coast through this. Not that I'm saying everybody did that, but that's human nature. If you know you're not going to play, you don't maybe put quite as much into it. Now when you know you're going to get in there, you can really get after things.
And it's a lot about shifting your focus, right? I mean, when you talk about guys that aren't going to play, it's more on the developmental side focused. Hey, weight room, conditioning, knowledge, right? Versus when you're in the two deep and you're fighting for snaps and starting, it's a lot of playbook, scheme fit. How am I going to get reps, right? And when I get the reps, make the most out of those things. That's so the mentality flip from a young player to an older player that's fighting for a viable playing time is really different as well.
Yeah. So I know I'm missing some names of guys that were in that room that did not get on the field this year, but I'm excited to see that because I think that's going to be another fun storyline in spring balls. Those young guys, Raekwon Buckley is another guy that was last year that I think that they're excited about. He's a young guy from the state of Michigan that I think did some good things on scout team this year that's going to have now a chance to get in that room and fight for some snaps for this football team as you move into next year. So looking forward to that. But again, Tagovailoa will be in the fray with this thing as well. Well, we heard from Barrett Ruud earlier in the program. Now delighted to be joined by Sean Beckton, Huskers tight end coach, joining us tonight. Congratulations. You got an addition to your room. Tell me about this young man from Minnesota.
Chase Androff.
Yeah.
Very excited.
He's a blocker.
Very excited about him. He's definitely that. He played one of the elite high schools up there, programs up there. 3-time state championship, 2-time state championship, back-to-back, 6'5", 235-pound kid already. Is not going to play basketball because he wants to focus in on trying to increase his weightlifting and size right now. So I'm really excited about him. He's got a lot of hidden talent. When I talk about hidden talent, he didn't display because of the offense, what he can do in the passing game also. I've seen him do some things in 7-on-7 over the summer for some clips there that really has me excited about his potential.
Has he been on your radar for a while?
Yes. Yeah, he was one of the top guys we identified early on in the process. I knew I was only going to take one. And when he did commit, his sister started out her college career here, and then when COVID hit, she moved closer to home. So the family had experienced a lot with Nebraska's a business program here. So that's one of the things that he wants to pursue. And the parents loved it when they came down when she was here, and obviously he followed suit when he came on his visit and really enjoyed it. And really did enjoy the camaraderie of the kids on the campus and the guys that he met and experienced. So that was a big factor in his decision to come here.
I mean, Coach, you look at your room now, and, man, you've got a giant – I mean, you might be taller than the offensive line room when you're looking around that room. I mean, You got Vokalek, Fedoni, and now you bring in Chase here. I mean, what is it about the tight end position specifically that you're really excited about getting these bigger guys? I mean, is it the matchup issues? Is it the way that all your guys are willing to throw their bodies in there? Like, what excites you about this 2022 room for your tight ends?
Well, the length obviously is one of the measurables that I try to recruit for. I do like guys that are passionate about the game, which Chase is. The guys we signed last year, Fedoni, Rollins, Carney, all those guys are passionate about the football game, the game of football, and getting better on a daily basis. Sometimes you go down just kind of taking a walk in the indoor, and then you'll see Fedoni down there working, A.J. Rollins in there, and Carney in there. Those guys with the quarterbacks, getting some extra balls up or hitting the sled. Those are the things that a lot of people don't know these kids are doing, and those are the type of mentality kids I like. When Chase told me he was not going to play basketball, he wanted to focus in on getting his strength levels up so he can compete on the next level. That kind of fits the mold of what I'm trying to build here and keep going here as a tight end room.
You got to keep Jeremiah away from your guys because he's looking at Chase's frame and going, I think he could be a tackle. I think he could be an offensive tackle. I go, Coach Beckton didn't like to hear that.
I don't want to hear that.
I mean, Cam Jurgens came in as a tight end. He played really well for the offensive line. I mean, I'm just saying, Coach.
I'm a team player, but I don't want to hear that. I love Cam. I've sat in his home a couple times in the recruiting process. You're just looking at his body. It was probably I knew he was probably going to end up growing out of that position. It was going to be hard for him to maintain the level for speed and whatnot to play tight end and do all those things. And he's going to be a great pro anyway at center or guard at the next level.
What was we were together on Sunday night at the team banquet. What was it like coaching Austin Allen and named the team offensive MVP? Your thoughts about his career and what's ahead for Austin Allen?
Yeah, it's been a joy. Long ride for him, a lot of highs, a lot of disappointments in some game situations. The kid played his tail off, obviously, this year, and it's a combination of him working my blueprint that I laid out for him when I first arrived here, and the kid got better and better, every single year. First year he was tasked to try to put on 10 pounds, and he did that. The second year was tasked on trying to make sure he sustained blocks and drove through things, and he's done that. And then last year and the year before was pass route, trying to clean that up for him. And then last year was more or less because he had everything already settled in. Last year was him become more of a leader, and he followed the script that I laid out for him over the 4 years, and now he's in a position to where he's going to be very successful, and I'm really excited about it. He's my guy for a long time. All the kids that I coach that's playing on the next level, and then also those guys that get degree, I call them my kids, and he's always going to be there for me, and I'm going to be there for him. with every endeavors he's got going forward. But his future is bright. I've already talked to some coaches out there. When they get to know him, I told them when they get to know him and sit down and talk to him personally and get around him and see how intelligent he is, he's going to be able to play more than one position for him, and he's going to do all the intangibles to be successful on the next level.
Coach, been a wild last month here for the coaching changes and everything on the offensive staff. You being the last one here, how's it been getting the new guys in the offensive staff room and kind of getting everything put together for the 22 season as everyone's kind of starting to trickle in here?
It's been great.
Contact
Coach
closure
Whipple,
number one,
being the
local break
offensive
start.
leader now on our side of the ball. We're excited about it. We've been doing a little bit of meeting here lately, last couple of days when we all got back into the office, and he's got a great football mind. Obviously, he's got a huge playbook. Obviously, him and Coach Frost has got to kind of get together on and try to merge some things that, you got two really, really very talented offensive minds coming together to establish a great offense. And the coaches, Raiola, that we brought in, and Coach Joseph that we brought in, really, really have the passion for the game. And you could see the kids in the hallways just clamoring to meet the new coaches, and that's a positive sign for me, knowing that things are headed in the right direction for the 22 season.
Our first name out of the gate today was Victor Jones, the lone Floridian in this class. I'm sure you've spent some time with Victor.
Yeah, I've been recruiting him since he was a ninth grader. So very excited about him that, we offered him down at UCF, and then obviously we moved up here. We stayed in contact with him. His coach, high school coach there, I was somewhat of his mentor. Doug Gabriel played for me at UCF. Travis Gabriel was his head coach there. He's his brother. Mentored him and obviously coaches his brother. So it just was a natural fit. Once the parents got him up here during the season last year, they just fell in love with the opportunity and being able to play big-time football and really, really advancing his career. And then when you heard that Mickey Joseph was going to be the receiver coach, that really cemented everything for him. A lot of people tried to get into him, get in late to get him to flip. You got to commend the kid. He didn't waver at all. He closed the door on a lot of people, and we're excited to have him. He can do a lot for us. He can be a kick returner. He can be a punt returner, and he's a big kid. He's already almost close to 200 pounds and a runner, a track guy. So those are the type guys that we need to continue to bring in here and continue to allow those kids to develop into great players.
Everyone loves talking about the quarterback position. You got Richard Torres coming in here, big kid. Right? Big time mold, big time frame. With the departure of Adrian Martinez into the transfer portal, big question mark in that room. What do you like about this kid coming in? Obviously coming off the injury, but what are some of the exciting things for this quarterback?
He's got that swagger, that it factor. A lot of times for me, when I'm recruiting quarterbacks, I like to see what type of you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at Brady. Those guys have a little bit of that it factor to them. Mackenzie Milton had that it factor. Richie Torres, when I first met him, he's got a little bit of flavor to him. What I call flavor, that means he's got some personality. And kids on the team love kids that have a little bit of flavor to them and personality about them. And those guys will tend to be great leaders, and then the other guys that kind of follow those guys. But Richie has a big arm, obviously, and he's got a tons of athletic ability. So I know what Coach is going to do to him, Coach Whipple, once he gets him in here, along with the other guys, the young guys that we currently have on our roster. I know Coach Whipple's going to get those guys ready to play and to play at a high level.
Came out earlier this week, Chancellor Brewington's going to come back for another year.
Yep.
The fans loved his ability to block near the goal line.
Hard-nosed kid. Hard-nosed kid, that's all I can say about him. He came in, obviously, into my room when Travis went down, and he was – I didn't believe early on that he could put his hand in the dirt. He obviously did, and he showed me in practice and kept showing me, and then we obviously put a package in for him down in the goal line, and he excelled at it, and we look forward to building more packages for him in the future. But a great kid, excited about him coming back. And I called him. He's already in Arizona. He's already done with school. So, yeah, I kept in contact with him every week, just checking up on him. And I'm excited that he's coming back. It just adds a little bit more to flexibility to our tight end room.
You like those blocks down there?
Oh, I mean, he melted people down there, dude. I mean, it was I think it was Iowa. I heard it. Like, I'm sitting on the sideline and you see him hitting this dude just bends over backwards. I mean, but that's the kind of mentality you're talking about of the passion for the game. A guy that size-wise should never be able to do something like that, but because he's just putting his body in front of the game, he's willing to do that. And guess what? That's infectious. You see, I mean, kids see that on the sideline and they go, wow, this guy's doing that. Like, everyone else wants to follow suit in that.
One of the things, when we know we get down in the red zone, the whole sideline stands up when they see Brewington going in the game because they know it's getting ready to be some type of collision down on the goal line. So in all the games that he participated in, he graded out probably the highest out of the tight end room as far as my grading scale for the few reps that he did have down on the goal line, and then also in some of those early games. Just a smart kid, very intelligent. Gave him a lot early on, and he picked up on it. And obviously, this spring is going to be huge for him, and we can try to improve in some areas for him to continue to help this football team.
Fedoni, you got him in there late in the season for a couple games. Is he totally back in your mind, or is he trusting himself now again with that legs and knees going to hold up?
It's been a hard road for him because he wanted to be out there, obviously. Then we had the little setback this spring. He's worked his tail back. Again, he's one of those kids that you walk it in the indoor here, there he is, in there, unsolicited, in there working. And he's going to be that way to his entire career here. He's just going to make himself into one of the best tight ends to play here. Really excited about him. He wanted to get back out there on that field so bad, and he worked his tail off. And I just told him it wasn't, Austin and Travis was playing really well, and wasn't really quite time for him to really, really step out there and take major reps. And, he's got to earn it. I want to make sure, this spring here he steps up and earns it. Obviously, Travis is the number one coming back, and now we need to find and see if Thomas can be the guy, or A.J. Rollins, or James Carney, or Brewington, or Nate Borkacher.
Ian's the offensive lineman. He's in that room.
And then you see where Hickman can be once he gets his body completely back healed up. So, Thomas is going to be a big part of what we're doing, obviously this spring, and he's going to have many opportunities to improve, just like Austin did many years ago. If you continue to work hard and improve, you're going to end up getting the end results in the end, like Austin Allen did. I use his name all the time.
I wanted to kind of talk about this past season. I know you're not heavily involved, but the running back room this past year was kind of crazy. But the emergence of Rahmir Johnson. I mean, you talk about what you just laid out about guys that are earning it the right way each and every way. What can you say about Rahmir and really his growth to kind of how he became RB1 this year?
Yeah, I'm so proud of that kid there. He could have folded his tent. He could have transferred, jumped in the portal. He said, no, I'm going to work. I'm going to continue to work. I know my talents. I know my ability. I know my work ethic. And he just got an opportunity when some guys went down in the camp earlier this year and really, really proved himself. And he just kept emerging himself. And Coach Frost saying, well, hey, Ramirez improved quite a bit. And Coach Hale, Ramirez getting better. You could just see it as training camp went along. And then I think at the back end of the spring, you kind of saw a little bit of it. But when he got back to camp, you can tell he worked his tail off in the offseason because he knew exactly what we wanted out of him. The explosion came back as far as the confidence in him running with the football. For a smaller guy, he's just got a natural ability for strength levels and all the things that intangibles as far as being able to catch the football. We hadn't had a back that can do all those things. So those things made him more valuable along with his work ethic. And again, there's a kid that was kind of written off a little bit, worked his tail off, and the rest is history. Now he's going to be one of our top guys and, a big part of this offense. Talking to Coach Whipple yesterday, all he kept saying, he saw a little bit of a Gabe Irvin, and then he saw 14. He was like, 14 keeps showing up, 14 keeps showing up. I'm like, yeah, the kid has worked his tail off, and we're excited about him.
And, Coach, it sounded like he was pretty big in Jaden Gould. They're from the same high school there in Jersey. Sounds like Ramir was a big influence. He
was huge on the recruiting visit. Obviously, those guys kind of grew up together. And, when you start building the foundation of kids from great programs, a la, Buford in Georgia, where you get talent. Same thing over there in Jersey. You get a high school kid that comes in doing well, he'll end up bringing a lot of other kids, and that's when you really, really get that pipeline and recruiting going.
Well, congratulations on Chase. I know you're excited to get him. I know you're excited for spring ball. That's going to be fun to watch your room and your guys attack spring football.
I'm excited about it. I've been working with these young guys a little bit extra throughout the year this year, and now they know it's their time to kind of showcase some of their abilities, and they're excited about getting ready to getting through Christmas. I told them, hey, enjoy your time off. When we come back, it's time to really, really dig in and get the grades. Understand we're here academics first, but make sure football-wise here's the time to make the team in the fall. Here's this spring. It's how hard you work in that weight room, and then how hard you work in this off season, getting yourself ready to go in this spring.
Very good.
I'm fired up.
Congratulations.
Let's go.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
Sean Beckton with us here, Husker tight ends coach, as our coverage continues here on Huskers.com. As we await some more arrivals. We're at 11 and counting for this class. At this point in time, the last one that came in was Brody Tagaloa, and we think there's a couple more coming today. Last night we said on the show we thought maybe 12. I think it's going to be higher than 12 before the day is over. We're at 11 right now. Could end up getting closer to 15 that end up in this room today. That's another room. We talked about defensive line, and that room appears to be in good shape. I don't know how you can't feel great about the tight end room.
I mean, it has to be the most complete room on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you start looking at some of the question marks, and Cam Jurgens now leaving. Matt Schichterman is now gone. I mean, the rotating tackles between Bando and Benhart at the end of the year there. Turner having not a great year. You look at the running back room, and Gabe Irvin's gone. You got who's playing Ramir's there, but Sevion Morrison goes to Kansas.
Right.
I mean, so there's just a lot of question marks, but then you look at the tight end room and it's just rock solid. I mean, solid and a great addition. Right? I mean, so that's really exciting for his room there. You can tell he's really pumped to get his hands and start molding these guys in the best way that he can, because that's going to be a big part of this offense. I think we finally saw Adrian start to trust the tight ends a little bit more with Austin Allen having the big emergent games there at the end of the year. So, I mean, you would think that this offense might be geared going back to a guy like Travis Vokalek early in the season to really get him rolling again early.
Seemed pretty confident, Jessica, that Travis is coming back. That was kind of good. Coach kind of slipped that in there, but I caught that. I'm like, good. I want Travis to come back.
Well, yeah, I think, with Austin Allen doing what he did last year, I mean, if Travis kind of moves into more of a role where he can show a little bit more of what he can do, and, he's a guy that he loves to be the blocking guy. He loves that physicality, but if, he can show that he can go up and make some of those grabs that we saw Austin Allen do time and time again, it could only help his draft stock, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and you talk about a guy that missed 4 games at the beginning of the year with an injury. It's really hard to come back from an injury, be tight end number 2, and then try and think you're ready to make the jump from college to the NFL. I mean, you look at Vokalek, he absolutely passes the eye test, right? You're like, oh, yeah, NFL tight end, that works. But come back and prove it. Be tight end 1, have the 1,000-yard receiving season, have the highlight tape of you just burying guys and blocking defensive ends that are going to get drafted, right? I mean, prove all of that on a full year basis, staying healthy, then put your name in, because guess what? You're the guy, man. Like, you are the guy at Nebraska in a tight end room, and that's not easy to do. And so I think that you see the guys. Jack Stoll did it. He went out, he did it. Austin Allen did it. He's now going to go out and play in the NFL. Be the next tight end that makes the jump to the NFL by being the guy first.
Could we talk about how great the social media announcements are on the football Twitter account with the former players kind of breaking down the tape? And I love the concept. Terrific. It's so well done. JoJo was talking about Ernest. And do you like his hat? Have you seen his hat?
I haven't seen his hat. What does his hat say?
Look, it's a Just scoot it back. It's pretty impressive. But, hearing those guys and Samori and, Cam Taylor, Britt, like breaking down what they're seeing in these guys, I thought was just such a cool concept.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's no greater compliment when you're a high school player of getting complimented by a guy who's doing what you want to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're a high school player and you're watching JoJo Domann and you want to be JoJo Domann, right? You want to have the career that he had, and you see him breaking down your tape and saying good things. It gives you a lot of confidence as a player, but it also fires you up. I mean, it gets you excited to get here and get the cleats on and get the helmet on and get rocking and rolling. And, I mean, all these guys, we're going to ask them all to contribute next year in one way, shape, or form, in my opinion, with the 4-game redshirt rule, which I love. I mean, be ready to go. Be ready to rock.
As you say, let's go back over who's going to be here mid-year, who will be coming here in January. Richard Torres, quarterback. Victor Jones, wide receiver. Ernest Hausman, linebacker. Jaden Gold, the cornerback. And Deshaun Singleton, safety. Did you come early?
No.
I
played basketball, so I wanted to play one more year of basketball.
You wanted to go to your prom.
I wanted to go to senior prom by myself because I was not a good-looking human. I wanted to do the fall. I wanted to do the spring musical. I did musicals in high school.
Really?
I did, and that was important to me. I don't know why, but it was. It was important to me to want to do that because I also knew, and I tell kids this all the time that ask me, should I come early, should I come out? Like, experience as much as you can in high school. Like, spread out, find things to do, because once you get to college, like, football is now a job. It really is. It's no longer. It is fun and you love it, but it is a production-based job. And so I really enjoyed my senior year, second semester. I also only had to take like 4 classes, so I was done with school every day by noon. You just go home and just eat and play Rock Band. So it was a good time.
I think a lot of these guys, that are going to stay for their spring semester of their high school year are because they're running track or playing basketball and have other things like that as well, which I mean, I can't tell you how many times I interview these guys week in and week out, and they played at a very high level, and a lot of them had options to do another sport in college, and how important that's been to the athlete that they've become, the fact that they did, play multiple sports and throughout their entire high school career.
It just teaches you how to compete differently, right? I mean, football is a very specific form of how you compete. Track's very different, individual pushing yourself. Basketball teaches a whole nother skill set. Like, you heard Barrett Ruud, versatile athletes, especially on the defensive side of the football, are so important now. And you don't become a versatile athlete if you just focus on one thing. And so guys that play multiple sports and things are becoming the people that want those guys, right? Those are the sought after individuals that people are going for, especially big time college programs.
We are expecting a couple of more to come in at the top of the hour, so we're just going to kind of hang with you here and hope to get it. We're currently at 11 that have come through the door this morning. They don't fax anymore. They just take a picture on their phone and send it in.
Nice.
That's the way we do it.
Hey, I have a fun idea. Let's all talk about who we're most excited about in this signing class. Jeremiah, you can go first.
Me? Well, I'm excited about that tight end, man. I'm super pumped about Chase Andorf, mostly because he's gonna play offensive tackle.
And if we have the highlights, Husker Vision, if we could roll them again and you could talk about him again for those that are just tuning in.
Absolutely. So I mean, Chase Andorf, he's a 6'6", 230-pound tight end, and his whole entire highlight reel is
smashing
blocking people. And Coach Beckton talked a lot about it. It is the style of offense that they run up there in Minnesota, but he is just a large-bodied frame. And the thing that I love when you talk about tight ends, offensive linemen, blockers in general, is do their feet stop? His feet never stop on contact, and that's the great thing to have, because you can't block someone if your feet aren't rocking and rolling. And you can see right here in this highlight, he's going to come off here, but as he said, he can do some good things with the ball in his hand. He's athletic. You see him turn up field here in a good burst of speed, and look at these guys trying to tackle him. They're all like hitting him in the shoulder, right? I mean, he is a true monster kid, and right here you just see him bury people. I love that. That fires me up, man.
He looks like a Big Ten player already.
100%.
He really does.
I mean, and you could say that about a lot of the guys in this recruiting class. I mean, we were talking about it earlier in the program. Jake Applegate from Southeast, like you see him on tape, you're like, yeah, largest guy on the field, looks like a Division I football player.
Jessica, who's your favorite?
Well, I've already talked a lot about how much I'm excited about Ernest. I think he's going to be a go-to media darling. I think he'll be a guy that I can interview a lot. He's great on doing interviews, right? But I think he's, just a good human being. You heard him talking about, wanting to make an impact in the community. And I think Husker Vision made the decision for me. I was trying to go with somebody else, but that's all right. I'll go with Ernest. Oh, we went back. Yeah, here's Ernest. But, again, a guy that played a lot of different positions in high school, moved around, but is a Nebraska kid. We've talked all these last 2 hours about how important it is to keep those in-state kids here and what that means to the program, how much it means to him to wear the N. He was the first commitment of this class, has been big in recruiting this class as well, and has a fantastic story. You guys know me. I'm a sucker for a good feature story, and he's got just an incredible story, a great human being. I think he's going to make an impact in a lot of different areas beyond just the football field, but I do think he's going to be a heck of a football player here too.
Commit number one.
There
you go.
Yep.
First guy out of the gates for this class. I'm going to go a little off the radar. I mean, there's a lot of guys you could quickly pick, but I'm going to go Malcolm Hartsock, the young man from Mississippi. I like the versatility of the kick return game, which I think we badly missed, his ability to do that. I just think this may be a guy that comes here with a lot of fight left in him, and I loved his tape. I love the fact that he got in there in an all-star game, was the MVP of an all-star game. But he's got just a little wiggle to him that you can't coach that. You either have it or you don't. I think Malcolm's got a little wiggle to his game, and I think he can be helpful on defense, but I think he can make a major impact with this team on special teams.
Yeah, if you said one glaring need of this football team, special teams is the one glaring need. I mean, look at even the NFL. They had one punt return and a touchdown this year, and it took till week whatever it was. I mean, the Bears were the first one.
Week 13 or something.
Those type of splash plays flip entire games. I mean, even just flipping field position on return is huge with the college football. So I agree. I think he's going to be a big hit. I mean, I think he could be the dark horse like Amir Abdullah, right? I mean, Amir kind of grew into his role at Nebraska as that kick returner, and he returned one against Fresno State, and the rest was kind of history after that. I can see him being one of those guys for us too.
With the Huskers losing so many players in the secondary, a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, and you could tell by the signing class that they went after that need. How much of these guys do you think will be able to make an immediate impact?
I think the guys that are coming in early, which we touched on, will have the opportunity in the spring to kind of build and showcase their ability to contribute. But you got to think that there's a reason we went heavy is because you need depth. I mean, not only are we saying some of these guys are going to be starters, I don't think anyone's going to come in and be a bona fide starter right away, but the Big Ten's kind of a war of attrition. It's kind of, hey, when guys get dinged, and Deontay Williams goes down this year, who's the next man up?
And competition is huge.
And competition's massive. I mean, it's being able to, competition breeds greatness. I say it all the time. And you got to have guys that are ready to step into that starting role that aren't a huge drop-off, right? I mean, so often teams that have big drop-offs are just not great. So when you have all that stuff going on, it's really helpful for them. And again, you talk about all these DBs that are coming in. If I want to talk about a dark horse of this class, Greg, a little bit of a dark horse, I really like that Gage Stegner kid.
Yeah. He's a great athlete.
Yes.
He can do a lot of things. Singleton, to me, is a guy that could come in and play right away, a junior college player from there. We talked, you talked about the secondary. The highest rated guy in this class is that secondary. It's Jaden Gould. We asked Sean Beckton about him a little bit earlier on. Football has put out a little a video with Gould to just kind of give everybody an example of what Creative's been working on. Here's a look at Jaden Gould and the tape that was put out by the football social media staff.
Way to get off the block and make that tackle. This is a great play right here. Way to high point that ball. He high points that football. It's our way. Take it to the crib. Another way we play this back shirt defense. I think that's enough for today. I see a future black shirt. Just gonna make it happen. You got one. Bring him in.
Can I just say, first of all, I'm going to miss Cam Taylor-Britt. I love that guy. I wish him nothing but the best. He's been so much fun. I know, Jessica, you had some great interactions with Cam throughout the fall.
Yeah, the first time I had a conversation with him, just the way he carried himself and the swagger and the confidence, and really enjoyed, interacting with him. We said all year long, I've covered football for 15 years now, and this has been about the most fun. That team had a lot of great characters, a lot of really good people. It was a very fun team to cover, and I think you could tell by these interviews today, what we've heard from the coaches, a lot of good character guys coming in this class too.
Yeah, and I think you talk about like Cam Taylor-Britt, Austin Allen. I know the wins aren't the lineage that they wanted to leave behind, but the building blocks that those guys left from being here for their full career, when this thing turns and it's close to turning, they're going to be a huge reason why it did. And I think that you see why they came back. Some of those came back for a sixth year, why those guys came back. They all came back with a purpose. And I think a lot of those guys accomplished individually their purpose, even though it wasn't the team goal that they all wanted to get back to. We've
had a lot of people on the chats and YouTube and Facebook asking, about some of the transfer guys, which we cannot talk about until they're officially here.
Right.
So we will, continue to cover that and follow that. But, with the transfer portal and, you hear about all these teams and their national rankings and how it's ranked, but it's kind of not as big of a deal anymore because of the transfer portal, because I know a lot of the newcomers coming in will be getting from the portal.
Yeah, and the portal is going to play a huge piece in our role in 2022. These are great. These are all young cats that are building blocks, but you talk about the portal for immediate impact, right? Look at Michigan State, for example. They go get Kenneth Walker. They go get all these transfers, and all of a sudden it's like they all hit gold, and now your coach is making $95 million. It's just the portal is going to be a very pivotal piece. I think you're going to see it's pretty easy to see what we're going to target, right? Not a whole lot of linemen on this list, Greg, as incoming guys. That means that
at this point zero.
At this point, zero. That means that they're probably looking for the more of the immediate impact through the portal to come in here. I think we all understand there's an immediate need for a quarterback in the portal. You look at guys that, for example, like Gould, right? He's a guy that can come in, you think, okay, can play right away. A lot easier for a corner or a receiver to come play right away with their natural God-given athletic ability than it is for an offensive lineman or even a defensive lineman to come in and physically be ready to make the jump from high school to college football.
Well, we saw a couple true freshmen last year. Gabe Irvin came in and won the job right away at running back spot before the injury at the Oklahoma game took him out. Let's talk offensive line a little bit. I'm surprised you've let us get away this long without that. With the Juergens announcement yesterday, what do you think happens at center?
I've been thinking, ever since I saw that announcement last night, my brain started kind of mix and matching the puzzle pieces. And if I had my druthers about it, I think that you have Teddy coming back, left tackle, no doubt, right? The left guard position for me is now a question mark because I think you move Nuri into center. I think Nuri could be a really good center. Maybe Turner Corcoran moves into that left guard spot a little bit, or, maybe Turner plays a little center. I think he has the athletic ability to do it. I really do. And I think that you saw out on the edge, he was a little light for the edge, but he could play at 300 pounds there at center with the athletic ability that he has. You keep Nuri then at left guard. At right guard, you kind of have the competition between Piper. Hickson's still here available. And then you got Henry. You got Henry Lutovsky, who everyone is really excited about.
Who did redshirt
this year. So you get a chance to see him have some meaningful chance to go through there. And then again, you have Bando and Benhart, who are battling for that right tackle spot, who was a little bit of rotational there.
Banks is lurking.
Banks is around there somewhere. There's a lot of names to get thrown in there and see where they go. But I think the biggest question, the number one thing is who takes over the main play caller at that center position with the departure of Juergens.
Biggest fan of Nuri's, Jessica.
Oh, I know. Jeremiah knows I'm a big fan, yeah.
I like Nuri too, and I think that he has more experience than anyone on that offensive line, which is why my mind immediately went to let's put him at center. He has the most playing experience of getting guys lined up. And a lot of it, too, is who's your quarterback? If you have a young quarterback back there that you're going to need to take over some of the mic points, some of the protection points, and do all that, or are you going to bring in a veteran quarterback that's going to be able to control a lot of that so you're not as concerned about the mental aspect of having a young center in there as well?
Not sure if you heard Greg's interview with Mickey Joseph the other day, but he brought up Xavier Betts and Omar Manning a lot, that he has already had meetings with them. How excited are you to see what Mickey Joseph can do with those two guys?
Oh, man, I'm so excited. I mean, you look at the track record, and I say this all the time. When you talk about development, you can't look at what the guy's done in the last, 1 or 2 years, but what's he done over the last 3 or 4 years. And what he's done is created an offensive rookie of the year in the NFL in Justin Jefferson, and arguably rookie of the year this year in Jamar Chase down at LSU. And so his ability to develop players is really special. And I think if I'm Omar Manning, and I'm, again, taking nothing away from what the wide receivers coach is here before Mickey Joseph did, but he is a grade above. He is a step in the right direction. And when you do move on from a coach, you need to make sure that you go. And I think with Coach Lubick, he had done what he was doing here, but now Mickey Joseph comes in and just ratchets that all up another level, ratchets all the development and everything. And so I'd be really excited if I was those two guys and looking, and I would take everything he said and just absorb it. Everything from the learning aspect, from the techniques to how you approach your film study to how you approach the weight room. Just be a sponge for everything that man tells you.
Got a couple questions for you here in the chat on the YouTube stream. Again, we cannot talk about guys until they've officially signed. So some of those guys that we're waiting to have those official letters of intent, which we get immediately when they come in, but we're waiting on those. But Chris wants to know, why not Corcoran to right tackle?
Well, I mean, I think you got to give Benhart the chance to really win his job back. I think that with the departure of your guard and your center, you want to try and find a way to keep the best 5 on the field. I think right now, at this moment in time, Bryce Benhart is one of the best 5 to put on the field, and so he can't play guard. You can't like I'm talking about turning Turner into a center or a guard. Bryce is too tall to play guard. He is a tackle. And if he's right tackle, that's probably because he's most comfortable at right tackle. So I think you have to understand he's kind of a one-show pony, right? I mean, he is who he is. You have to continue to develop him at that one spot instead of trying to move him around. So I think versus with Turner, he could play multiple positions based off his athletic ability. So I think that's why you want to keep Bryce at right tackle and then kind of fiddle with some of the other guys around and be like, hey, Bryce, you're the 2-year starter here. It's your job to lose or it's your job to keep, and allow that kind of be the starting point there.
Pop quiz, which signee is from the same hometown as Bryce Benhart?
My tight end. Are you kidding me? That's Andorf's my guy. I'm telling you, he's going to get in here. I'm going to introduce myself to him, and I'm going to be like, I can't wait to watch you be pass blocking, man. You're just going to be a monster. And then Becton's going to come out of the rafters and just choke me down.
Okay, got a couple more for you here in the chat. Brett says, not so much a question, but I don't think people pay attention to the height that Nebraska has been focusing on for certain positions on the field. Thoughts about just height improvement?
Yeah, I mean, when we were I was looking at this 6'2", 6'3", 6'6". I mean, there is a body type that this staff has absolutely targeted, and it's moving towards more of what, especially in the secondary, of the NFL-style DB. The days of the Alfonso Dennards are not really a thing anymore. The days of the Malcolm Butlers are not. You're not seeing as many of those guys. You're seeing guys like Patrick Surtain from Alabama, 6'2". You're seeing guys like Stanley Jean-Baptiste when I was here, who's 6'4". I mean, that's the mold, because guess what? Receivers are getting bigger. Receivers are getting taller. You need to step by step keep those up with the DBs. And so good identification by the staff of a need of what we want to do and what we want to build that back end. And so you're really starting to see them go after those type of guys in recruiting.
Questions rolling in for you left and right now. This is from Ron, being a lifelong Chicagoan and Bears fan, I'm curious to hear what his overall take is on Raiola coming in, being that the Bears have had their own issues with O-line.
Yeah, I mean, so it's really hard to say Raiola had a huge piece or not in that offensive line, because when you're the assistant offensive line coach for an NFL program, you're very much kind of, hey, you take the centers or you take the tackles. Like, it's not really your room to run. But what you do is you get to take a ton of knowledge in. You get to help set up the scouting reports. You get to help break down tape. And young guys, when they come in and need some help, they usually go to the assistant O-line coach to, hey, can you watch some tape with me or help me install this? And so that really helps back to his ability to help with the younger guys, because the number one question I have for Donovan Raiola is, hey, how do you plan on developing a lot of these young guys in this room? And we talked about it earlier. So many guys that come into college at the offensive line position need to be developed. They need to be worked not just in the weight room, but their knowledge of the game, their way that they use their techniques. I mean, nobody uses their hands in high school football in the pass protection, and you get to college and it's a must. You're going to get your just teeth kicked in week and week again. And so my biggest thing is I think that he's going to bring the NFL concepts and the things he's learned in the NFL to the college level and start introducing them and letting these guys put tools in the toolbox as they continue to roll and get going. And so I'm excited to see this spring, and I'll probably try and venture my way out to a few practices and see how he runs his individual periods. But overall, I'm excited for his ability to come into this room.
It's got to be, as a member of the pipeline, it's got to be, we heard him last night on Sports Nightly talking about how much it means to him and how much he appreciates the pipeline. Obviously, his brother was a big part of that, but that, you know, a guy has that kind of appreciation and wants to keep those guys around this program, around his offensive line. Yeah,
I mean, so much of what Nebraska's tradition is based off of the guys that have come before you, right? I mean, it was one of the reasons I loved coming here. It was one of the reasons that a lot of people came here, and I actually was chatting with him, and he said he was talking to a lot of guys from the 90s that have been here, Brendan Stye. I mean, and the thing is, there's a lot of us still around. I mean, I was like, hey, there's 3 dudes from my class that all still live here in Lincoln. Myself, Spencer Long, Brent Qualley, Cole Penzick. We all graduated from Nebraska in 2013, and 3 of us played 7 years in the NFL. Like, there is still a historic tradition. Alex Lewis got drafted in the 4th round. Nick Gates, even though the Nebraska football pipeline hasn't been what it had in the past, we have still put dudes in the NFL year in and year out. And I think that when you're looking, Brendan Hymas and Matt Farniak being the latest, that there still is a proud tradition of offensive line play here at Nebraska, and we really want people to continue on with that. And anything that we can do to help people that wear the N is something that every one of us would drop what we're doing to come back here and help this offensive line any way that we can.
Last question I got for you from the chat from Brandon. Asks Searles if offensive line blocking can be improved at times of struggles by moving to a man scheme versus zone. This one you could probably get into the weeds a little bit, right?
Yeah, so honestly, that's a little bit more flipped. I think that offensive line blocking can be fixed more on the zone scheme versus the man scheme. Man schemes can get a little hairy based off of where's the initial point? Are we counting safeties? Are we counting DBs? Is there cross motion? I mean, is there any type of motion that goes through any of that? So those are all things that really are just going to kind of muddy the picture, right? Versus zone schemes, I think the biggest thing is like, hey, step in your gap, run in your gap. If there's a different color that shows up, hit it in the face. And that's kind of a little bit simpler. And you saw us go to that a little bit with Northwestern when we put in young Teddy and Nuri and we had some success. I think the option game has to be a man scheme because you're counting. But I think that the mixture of the man and the zone, especially with younger offensive line play, can absolutely be developed. But the zone scheme, in my opinion, is much easier to teach and allows guys to play faster with that type of scheme.
You were talking about depth chart, and people were asking about what that may look like. Mickey Joseph said to us the other night that with new coaches, he said the depth chart's kind of in sand, and it can be quickly kicked away because we don't know. We can watch tape, but until we get on the practice field with you and put our eyes on you and see what we come up with, he said it'll be fluid, and that's okay, right? I mean, I think that's okay that some guys go, well, I think I'm the starter, but I got to impress this guy now.
And it really, I mean, you talk about guys that have been 3 deep, 4 deep. Now they think, hey, it's an open book, man. Like the level of which I can improve myself between now and spring ball, if I go out there and I create a great first impression really quickly in spring ball, I'm going to climb that ladder a lot faster than I would if the old staff was here because they feel like the book is written on me, right? It allows everyone a chance to reinvent themselves. Everyone gets a chance to be the next great guy. Everyone gets a chance to come in and show the coach what they feel like they can actually be, which just breeds better players overall at every position.
All right, today is signing day, but it's not just today. This goes throughout the rest of the week. So this whole class will not be locked in just today. You have until Friday for young guys to sign their national letters of intent. And Nebraska anticipates getting some signatures still today, yes, but maybe throughout the week as well. So that's a little bit of a spoiler alert for you as well. And as we've mentioned, and Jessica mentioned it a moment ago, the transfer portal is going to be very active, but we cannot officially announce them until they get actually enrolled in school and do those type of things. So those announcements are going to come in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks because All they have to do is be here by, I think, January 18th is the first day of class. So this roster is going to change in the next month.
I mean, and we talked about it right before the Iowa game. Like, Husker football doesn't ever end. It doesn't, right? I mean, you could talk Husker football 365, 24/7 because that's just the way that college football has really shifted to with the transfer portal, the early signing day. I mean, then you still have regular signing day. I mean, regular signing day, even though February. And then, I mean, as soon as regular signing day is over, it's like, guess what starts? Spring ball. I mean, and when we were texting back and forth, I was like, I feel like season just ended, but like I'm already ready to start talking and rolling about it again because there's a lot of buzz. Even though we were a 3-win football team, there's a lot of buzz about what 2022 could be for the Big Red.
And Jessica, as we mentioned, the volleyball's going to have some flips in the next. There's going to be a lot of news with them about who's going to come back and take advantage of that extra year. Obviously, we want to watch them win a national title this week, but there's still a lot of news coming down from that program here in the next week.
This transfer portal is going to be just cray-cray for all sports for a few more years now until we get through all of this COVID. And, you know, I mean, it kind of stinks for some of the high school kids that aren't going to get an opportunity because, you know, maybe some schools need experience. And so they're going to go to the portal as opposed to signing, you know, high school recruits. But, you know, it'll be interesting. It's definitely going to be fascinating because we are not done talking about new Huskers and we'll continue to follow it. And we should, I think we're expecting a couple more maybe news announcements today. Hopefully could be coming down anytime soon. But if not, we will have it on Sports Nightly tonight.
Yeah, here's the rest of the day. Scott Frost will have a press conference at 2 o'clock today. That will be streamed on Huskers.com. So he'll have the latest. We do anticipate a couple of more that may come in between now and then. And then Sports Nightly tonight at 6 will recap the whole day. Also, we'll be getting some press coverage from Columbus, Ohio for the Final Four for volleyball. John Cook has a press conference back there. We'll have some clips of that for you tonight. We'll hear from some of these players who have signed with Nebraska today as well. So not only does Scott Frost meet with the media at 2 o'clock, but the 3 new offensive coaches are going to meet with the media today as well. Coach Joseph, Coach Raiola, and Coach Whipple will meet with the media today as well. So if you have been thirsting for Husker football coverage, there's a lot more. There's going to be a fire hose coming at you here for the next couple of days.
How many questions do you think it takes before someone asks Whipple about running the football? I think maybe the second or third question. Is
there going to be a fullback?
There's going to be someone that's like, so, Coach, what's your philosophy on running the football? And for all you run the ball guys out there,
where's your T-shirt?
It's going to happen. No, we're not going to turn into the air raid at Nebraska. So everyone, like, calm down. But I just envision about 1 or 2 questions and someone be like, so, we going to run the football? And he's just going to kind of roll his eyes like, yes, we're going to run the football.
I got one more question. I don't know. Are we just going to keep holding on?
Let's just roll. We're just going to keep going.
Right up until the presser at 2 o'clock?
Okay, no.
No, but no, for these, you know, high school freshmen, either they're coming in or they're, you know, staying in high school. What's the process like to be ready to go, whether it's, you know, in January for off-season workouts, which we all know can be really tough, or, you know, to be able to roll in the summer?
You know, it's an interesting thought, and a lot of it is dependent on what are you doing, right? If you're just going to be like, hey, I'm going to take my second semester senior year and I'm just going to chill and I'm going to just hang out, that's not great. If you're playing basketball and you're doing track and you're doing all those things, you're going to stay in great physical condition. The jump from when you come from high school, finishing up your senior year of football, to winter conditioning of college football is pretty drastic. And you see guys in the strength staff when I was here, at least, didn't just kind of throw them into the fire. They worked them into it a little bit because your body just really isn't ready at all for that. But it does give you a chance to feel what a college practice is before you get to training camp, where if you come in the summer. So I think it does. There's lots of good. There's lots of bad. The other piece too is when you bring that extra piece in, and I hate saying it, but like for Fedoni, he got injured. Right? I mean, when your body's not ready for college football, and that's not saying his body wasn't. I know but your body takes some adaptation period to get used to that. And sometimes it can be a little bit too much too quickly, or you push yourself a little more than your body's capable because you're now competing at that next level. That there's a lot of factors that go into it, but ultimately it's just about keeping yourself physically in elite physical shape.
Ron had another question for you here in the Facebook chat about Raiola. Does Jeremiah think his recent NFL experience, especially being in Chicago, will assist in getting some higher-ranked offensive line recruits from the Great Lakes area into Lincoln?
You know, I think so. I mean, anytime you're looking at going to a college football program, you want to look at who's coaching me, and do they have the ability to get me into the NFL? I know you're looking way down the road at that, but that's just the nature of what college football has turned into is, hey, if I show up and I play for 3 years, will I be ready to go to the NFL? And I think that when you have someone that has NFL ties like Raiola does, he knows NFL schemes, he knows NFL techniques, he's going to be teaching you those things. It gives you the confidence that he's going to help you get into the NFL. So I think that that's a yes. Long answer, but yes.
He's stepping into a room with a lot of talent. The highest rated guys in the last 2-3 classes have been the offensive linemen.
Yes.
So it's there. It's maybe not translated yet, but remember how young that group was this year. You got young tackles, and young tackles in this league with the pass rushers we saw on this schedule, you're going to get exposed.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Aiden Hutchinson run over a first-round tackle that's supposed to be for Ohio State, and he just absolutely blasted him and ran him over. I mean, George Karlaftis is going to the NFL. Harrison from Ohio State will play on Sundays. I mean, you're going to see NFL talent week in and week out. And guess what? For those guys getting exposed a little bit this year, it allows them to go back to the drawing board. It allows them to go back this offseason, rewatch that tape and say, okay, here's what got me beat. Here's why this got me beat. Let's address it, let's fix it, and let's move on, and let's grow from it, which really I'm hoping to see big jumps from both Benhart and Turner or whoever, Teddy, whoever the tackles are next year.
All right, we have been told that we have some official announcements about walk-ons. These are preferred walk-ons who have accepted the ability to come to Nebraska, and so I'm pulling up my file to give you some information about some of them. Another Hausman, Cooper Hausman, who played at Norris High School down the road, just south of Lincoln. He is going to be a preferred walk-on. He's a defensive back, 5'11", 185-pounder, was a two-way standout for Norris, a Class B school in Nebraska. Also, Luke Lindemeyer, another tight end added to Sean Beckton's room. He is from Papillion La Vista. He will join Nebraska as a preferred walk-on. And two more from this class, Brady Weiss, who's a long snapper from Wisconsin. So you certainly, those are huge positions. Nebraska's also dipped into the transfer portal for that position as well. And Charlie Weinrich, who is from Blue Valley High School, best high school in the world. High school. Leawood, Kansas. He's a place kicker. He is actually a 5-star kicker.
How about that? And his social media blew up when he committed here, and talk about how he doesn't want to let Husker Nation down. And I think he already won the Husker Nation over.
And an offer from Kansas. So he turned down an offer to be a walk-on here.
I mean, it's Kansas. So, but I mean, you look at it, but I mean, talk about, again, you look at opportunity. Opportunity is the number one thing that I identified when I was getting recruited. What is my opportunity to play? Am I going to go somewhere? I mean, if I'm a kicker and they've got 4 kickers that are all older than me, it's like, but with the circus that was our kicking game this year and the ability to have a guy come in that has the leg, has the proven track record in high school, you're talking about a guy that can play right away, a kicker. You don't need the physical development of when you're coming into a college program. If you can kick it through the pipes at 18, great. You're going to be able to do it at 21 too, so might as well start you now.
Charlie made a 51-yarder in his high school career, and that's going to be really competitive because there's a couple other guys that Nebraska is securing to compete for that spot. I wake up in the middle of the night in sweats thinking about some kicks that we saw this past fall.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Fargo for the North Dakota State game this past week, and I'm watching them like bang kickoffs, that extra punch. I was like, why is my heart not palpitating right now? I was like, oh, that's right. It's just an extra point. Like, and those are just those hidden yardages or those hidden points that we talk about, that Nebraska being the first team ever to have 9 losses of single digits. Like, those are reasons why. Those punts and those kicks and those kickoffs and all those things. I mean, those are all things that played a huge factor into what our record was, and those are a reason why we've addressed it as early as we have in this offseason.
One thing also about Charlie is Harrison Butker has worked with him.
Mm-hmm.
He actually, in his announcement that he was going to be a Husker, he thanked him and said, "It's not every day a professional athlete takes you under his wing to help you achieve his dreams. Forever grateful. God put you in my life."
That's awesome. I mean, anytime you can have a mentor that helps you in that regard, wherever school you go to, plays huge dividends in your career.
And then he said, Coach Frost and the entire UNL coaching staff, I'm excited to give you all I have. Nebraska, I'm ready to make you proud. How about that? kicker, one of the most popular guys in this signing class here. But the walk-on program, I mean, how important does that continue to be to Nebraska football?
It's huge. I mean, Nebraska football's got a historic walk-on program, and you talk about finding diamonds in the rough. I mean, we every single year find guys that were walk-ons that became huge contributors. I mean, dating all the way back to my time. I mean, Spencer Long was a walk-on defensive lineman who turned into a third-round pick All-American guard. I mean, you look at Luke Reimer. Luke Reimer was a walk-on who came through. And I mean, you could go down the list of guy after guy that's gone from walk-on to a contributor. Jack Gangwish. Jack Gangwish was a walk-on defensive end or linebacker even that became a team captain, right? I mean, so you need those type of guys in this program. And a lot of those guys, too, are also those in-state guys that we talked about that they help educate what guys are and what this program really means and how it goes through. And I can think of walk-ons that came in that really are good friends of mine that really were able to continue to help me learn and grow and understand what Husker Nation is really all about.
Walk-ons, again, these are preferred. That means they've already paid their admission fee to be students in Nebraska. That's why we're able to announce those 4 names earlier today. The scholarship count, the national letters of intent, is at 11. We expect a couple of more today, a couple of more this week as this period runs through Friday before it gets shut down. So it doesn't just end today, but 11 in today. 3 offense, 8 defense, a couple of more offensive players expected to be signed before the day is out here at Nebraska. And again, Scott Frost will meet with the media at 2 o'clock. That will be streamed on Huskers.com. We'll have a full recap tonight on Sports Nightly at 6 for a complete coverage of this entire day today. This has been fun. This has been an interesting day. I think, as Barrett Ruud said when we brought him in earlier, you don't want a lot of surprises on signing day. They really haven't had any, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want these guys wake up at 5 a.m. just hoping their phone doesn't have a text or a missed call.
Hey, coach,
right? Like,
sorry,
hey, coach, we need to talk. Like, the old you up text is not what you want to get on signing day at all. And again, no surprises. I think they got everyone that they're looking for, and now we're just looking for the last few pieces to kind of round out the day.
And we're told that Deshaun Singleton is close to joining us here on our coverage today, the junior college safety who is from the state of Louisiana but went to Hutchinson Junior College. We're going to make contact with him here in just a couple of minutes to talk to him before we sign off with our coverage here this morning. Again, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family. Shop Woodhouse first. 18 brands, 16 convenient locations. Simplified car buying to save you time. Shop, finance, and buy online at woodhouse.com.
Apparently, we're still waiting on him, but I'm going to keep working on getting these recruits. They're all in school, mind you.
Yeah.
Their schools didn't get canceled today.
Day. Come on.
It's not windy, apparently, in some of these schools. So
I'm watching the workers out here working today.
It's not even windy
hanging
here.
steel today.
So I'll keep working, and hopefully we'll have a few of these guys be able to join us for Sports Nightly tonight and, throughout the week as well. So apparently he cannot join us, but we'll keep working, and maybe we'll have him tonight for Sports Nightly.
All right, before we wrap up, final impressions from both of you on what's happened so far here this morning.
I think the biggest thing for me is we addressed the number one glaring need, which was the DB position. With as much as the departures that we had and how much we left there, that was the biggest thing. We went and got some JUCO guys. We went and got young talent. And again, we talked about it. Young talent can contribute right away at those positions, so that's really important. And then you lose a big tight end in Austin Allen. You go get another big tight end out of Minnesota. So, again, big pieces depart. You find pieces to come in and start that rebuild. I thought they did a nice job with that.
All right. Well, my final thought is I think we got Deshaun Singleton on the line.
Take it away.
So, you got us? Hey, Deshaun, how you doing?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, congratulations. How does it feel? You signed your letter of intent this morning. I know you just committed yesterday, but make it official and to be a Husker.
Oh, yeah, it feel good. Great.
Take us through, you just committed last night, and so a last-minute kind of commitment. What made you believe in Nebraska, and why was this the spot for you?
Well, when I made that visit up there, really like the people over there, those, they're very supporters up there. It felt like Louisiana. It felt like home when I went up there. So I knew I was gonna have to come up there.
So I know you played quarterback in high school, right? And were kind of a versatile athlete and just kind of made the move to playing full-time defensive back. But can you take us back through the process of the decision to go to junior college and then what you did to kind of get yourself in a position to have Division I offers, lots of them right now going into this season?
Well, the transition, it wasn't really that hard to make. It was just like Coach Mo Gray, my DB coach, he just told me, he said, hey, if you switch to defense, he think I go big somewhere, you know. After that, he just took me under his wing, and, you know, he showed me the ropes of playing DB, you know. It all fell from there.
What'd you like about playing defense over being a quarterback?
I like hitting people.
Husker fans like hearing that. You talked about your DB coach up there at Hutchinson, and he said very sharp, very intelligent, attention to details, and that you're like a sponge, and you just, you know, again, really dive into kind of studying the game. Why is that important for you?
It made me play faster. The more I know, the faster I can play.
What kind of went into that to kind of learning and understanding the game?
What you mean? Like
how did you kind of continue to grow in that area and the mental part of it, and, you know, as you focus completely on being a defensive back?
Oh, it wasn't hard. You know, I just spent hours in the film room with Coach Mo, and it just came easy. Like, it wasn't hard at all. It was just stay in the film room, take mental reps, you know, get on the field, do those reps, and it's going to come.
So you played both corner and safety. How big is that you can be versatile and play multiple positions in the secondary?
Oh, that's big. That means I could just really do anything. It's big on that. Like, I'm a defensive back, you know. That Mo wanted to put a big part in that add a big part of that in my game, and I did it, and, you know, it worked out.
What goes into that, being able to be versatile and play multiple positions back there?
What goes into that?
Being able to play multiple positions in the secondary.
Really, I don't really know. So, I mean, I just love to do that. That's I don't know.
All right. Well, you are coming in January, right? So what do you need to do to be able to kind of get right in here and maybe make an immediate impact for the Huskers?
What I need to do, all I need to do right now is just, you know, get my bags packed up there and fly out there right now. So, I mean, I'm ready to, you know, come out there now.
That's awesome. What do Husker fans need to know about you? We got a lot of them tuning in right now. What does Husker Nation need to know about Deshaun Singleton?
I'm gonna come up there and work. I'm gonna make a big impact for Husker Nation.
You excited to get here to Lincoln?
Yeah, most definitely. No, most definitely.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll
Deshaun
keep.
Singleton.
Yeah. Appreciate a lot of these guys, again, are balancing school today. And it's not just about signing your letters of intent and celebrating all day. You got to go take finals and go to class. So hopefully we'll continue to talk to some of these guys, and we'll have them for you on the show tonight and across all of our podcast platforms, too.
It's always good to have a safety that wants to hit people, too.
Right?
I love that. First response. What do you like to do? I like to hit people.
Yeah. It's like, why don't you like playing quarterback? Couldn't hit enough people.
Yeah.
Cool. Sign me up for that.
Why are you a DB, not a wide receiver? My hands aren't great, but I can hit people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what happens with some of that. A little bit of other Husker news. The All-American squad for volleyball just came out. Lexi Rodriguez, first-team All-American. Well deserved for her.
I loved watching the Texas people cry.
Oh, my gosh.
How glorifying.
Were you doing the horns
that
down thing?
I tweeted
He did
it.
Bevo.
All of it.
He turned Bevo upside down.
Yes. Anytime you can do the horns down, I'm all about it.
Kayla Caffey, second-team All-American, and Maddie Kubik, third-team All-American. So 3 Huskers All-Americans. Lexi Rodriguez, freshman. I'm telling you, I think she's one of the top 10 liberos in the world already. Another Husker has done the hat dance or pick, but we can't say his name yet because we don't have official paperwork. work in. We'd love to stall maybe to talk more about this, but another one is in the fold. Did one of those. Did you do a hat dance thing?
No, I did not do a hat dance thing.
You didn't seem like a hat dance guy to me.
I called Coach Cotton and I called Oregon and said, thank you for everything. I'm not committing with you guys. I then called Coach Cotton and said, I'm coming here. And then I just signed my paperwork the night before and then faxed it in that morning.
How close was it? Close at all for you?
It was close between Oregon and Nebraska. Oregon and Nebraska were my final two that it really came down to. And for me, it was a lot of I wanted to go far enough from home, but I didn't want to go that far from home. And honestly, Oregon was a little flashy. I'm not a super flashy guy. And Oregon was a lot of the look at all the Nike and some guys love that, but that just wasn't much for me. Versus Nebraska was more about the football. Coach Pelini was more about the work. Coach Cotton was more about what we were going to do here, and that resonated with me a lot more than it did for Oregon.
Well, we're coming toward the end of our coverage here today. This has been fun. We're talking about impressions. To me, it's size. I think they added size across the board at different positions. DBs, tight end, obviously. I just think, I think that's been part of the plan the last couple of years. Coach Frost said that after his first season here in Nebraska, we're not big enough. Across the board, we are not big enough to stand up and play. The teams in our league, week in and week out, we have to get bigger, and I think this class continues that theme.
Yeah, and I think that people read into that of like we're not strong enough. Like literally you just need bigger people. It's not just about being bigger in the weight room. It's just about having the frame to carry bigger weight. And so I agree, they nailed that. And then the bigger thing too is the one wide receiver commit that we have here. I think that he's going to be a big time that threat for getting the ball in his hand and yak yards, right? Yards after catch. I think you see the possibilities with Omar Manning. I don't think it's as much as Betts, but they used him a lot in high school for the yak yards in Victor there, and I think that he's going to be one of those guys that can take the slant route from 5 to 15 or take the hook curl route from a 10, a DB bounces off of him and goes, and I think that that's kind of their vision for him too.
I think for me the biggest takeaway is just the excitement and buzz, and a lot of these recruits we've heard from a lot of them today about even though this team won 3 games last year, they're excited to come in and help them get over that threshold, and they feel like I know close was the word we heard a lot and probably got sick of hearing, but that's the word that the recruits were using, and they're excited to come in here and help make a mark and be that next class that kind of helps push over the threshold. Getting a lot of comments again, more comments about the class, and again, it's so much more than just this signing class. It's going to continue to develop as the Huskers hit the transfer portal. So what the ranking is, quote unquote, is not really legit and indicative of what this new incoming class is going to mean to this football program.
Yeah, it's going to be a fluid situation. I mean, for the next 2-3 months, it's going to be ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and it's exciting for us because we can talk about it more than just like, well, we're just in a holding pattern until February and we can't say their names because they didn't sign a lease. Hey, we can talk about all these guys now. We can chat and dive deeper into what these guys can bring to the program and how they can help this program take its next steps forward.
Here's Scott on Facebook Live said, what I love about all the kids is they all say they can't wait to get there and go to work and work extremely hard. I mean, it's something that they're excited to get here and work and try to earn, their playing time as a freshman.
Very good. Well, appreciate both of you for your work today. Thanks to all of our Husker Radio crew, to social, to the football social team, to Husker Vision. Everybody had a hand in this one today. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. Again, the current number is 11. We think that will grow throughout the day and will grow throughout the week because this period stays open until Friday. So look for some more names to be coming down that. We'll keep you posted on Huskers.com. We'll certainly have updates daily with Sports Nightly through the rest of the week. Jeremiah, Jessica, thank you very much.
Thanks. Absolutely. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good to be back. Good to be back. Feels like we're back pre-game day here. We've only got about 9 more months to get this all put together.
Merry Christmas to both of you. Jessica's done with her shopping. I know you're not. I am not. I've got work to do in the next 10 days.
Yes, me too.
All right.
Sadly.
Be safe out there. We'll have a full recap of everything tonight on Sports Nightly, 6 o'clock. Throughout the network and also on Huskers.com. Appreciate it. It's Coach Frost press conference next on Huskers.com at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Have a great day. Go Big Red.